G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to the next episode of the Trackside Lounge podcast. Once again joined by my two good mates sitting up there, or they're probably down there by the time I edit it. So say hello. We've got, of course, Atom and Nismo.
Good afternoon.
Hey.
G'day. And we are, of course, joined this time by a guest, which is really awesome. We had Psydog on last time, and I think we followed him up with a very, very good guest in Matthew McEwen, Altus Esports driver, and then GT finalist, World Tour finalist for 2019, 2020, 2021, and of course, pre-qualified for Monaco in 2022. So, Matthew, how are you?
Not bad. How are you guys?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Thanks so much for coming on. We've got plenty to talk about, obviously. We've just wrapped up the Salzburg World Tour, so that was a couple of weeks ago, where, of course, you competed in the Nations Cup, and you were good enough to pre-qualify yourself for Monaco, as previously mentioned. Atom seems to be the main guy with all the prompts today, so would you like to start us off, Atom?
So, you're the only Oceania driver to pre-qualify for Monaco, isn't that right, Matthew?
Yeah.
So pretty awesome.
We've got 3 other Asian drivers, all Japanese, but yeah, just me for Oceania.
Who was that? Was that all for nations, or was that for manufacturers as well?
Yeah, it's only nations because the manufacturer guys don't get pre-qualified. They just kind of get kicked out. They get to do World Series 2 and 3, but then everyone has to re-qualify manually for World Finals.
Okay, well that's good. So you'll be breathing a sigh of relief. You guarantee yourself a spot. You don't have to worry about the upcoming seasons, right?
Yeah, I can just kind of cruise again like I did last time.
Well, yeah. So you've qualified in the Nations Cup. So you can kind of just write that off for the new season. But do you plan to stick your toes in the manufacturers pool and try get into the double?
I might, but it's complicated because I just don't really know what people are going to sign for because everyone's just going to re-sign. And
they're going to re-sign now.
Yeah, so not really happy about that.
If you do decide to do manufacturers, do you have a potential candidate in terms of selecting a manufacturer that you'd like to compete with?
My first thought was Chevy. Seems like the most achievable one. It's got a decent car, but there's a few other ideas that kind of just might stick up, especially if I know that they got an extra driver somewhere else and that I could potentially beat the one that's already there for Asia.
Yeah, I feel there's a couple of good manufacturers that were just a bit lacking in the driver department, so that might be set to change with the new changes, which are a bit weird this time around, eh? We're not allowed to change openly. We have to double account, essentially.
Basically alt account it, yeah, which is normally something that's been frowned upon in obviously seasons gone by, but this time, like Gran Turismo themselves are saying, just do it. So.
Last year, PD said that they weren't going to throw too much of a fuss if people did the same thing, but no one really took it that seriously because it was for an online final.
That's a bit different this year, a lot more on the line.
Yeah, exactly. And then, this year, they said they can't just release the contracts because there's an issue with the game where it'll cause problems or they don't have the programming necessary to actually release the contracts like I believe they want to.
They did that for 2020 for the new Mazda car, didn't they?
Yeah. I'm not too sure how that worked, but I guess GT Sport versus GT7, something like that.
Yeah.
That's true, and again, I think we've mentioned it a couple times on the podcast talking about GT Sport versus GT7 is that a lot of people don't realize it's actually fundamentally a completely different game. Like, just because it's dressed up to look very similar to Sport doesn't mean that it mechanically operates like, or rather from a gameplay, under the hood, so to speak. It's very different, of course. So it's easy to be like, oh, but they did it in Sport, but Sport. So
they did reprogram the entire game in a new programming language, so that explains why they lost everything. And we did get some information in Salzburg as to why that is.
Can you share that with the group?
let's just say that they're very open about how they have rebuilt the game from the ground up, and so
they're working on everything basically, right?
from the start, basically. And then separately, you got the leak from Nenkai, the data miner who's got into the game, and basically he's confirmed that the game's reprogrammed in a completely different programming language.
I find the stuff he does is so interesting, eh?
Oh yeah, that telemetry thing. Getting into the telemetry, finding out that sure enough the physics are run at 60 FPS or 60 Hertz, and being able to pull all that telemetry data is amazing. So it shows what it's actually calculating and stuff, and I would love to get my hands on some of that data, even if it's not even stuff that I've driven.
Yeah,
I just want to see what parameters. Don't have to work for PD, just have to work with Nenkai.
Yeah,
stats for nerds, and you sort of see that in a few different games, like Assetto, and I know Project Cars did it as well. There'd be a few different displays that you could have, which would show a little more in depth, like it would show you your suspension geometry at any given moment, or your tire temperatures, or your brake temperatures, all that sort of stuff. Gran Turismo's never really done that sort of thing, and they've kind of played a bit of catch up in recent months. Obviously, now you can make your camera do a full 360 around your car, which was a very common thing. Any other game. Interesting to see if we could start to get some of those like tire temperature displays, or
interesting new thing geometry from Austria that we saw, that I wonder if it will come to the game, and maybe you can tell us a bit more about this, Matthew, was they had the tire graphic on the timing ladder, and it had the percentage of tire life remaining.
So
like, cars had 84% tire life remaining. I wonder if that means that they've therefore coded a percentage of tire wear, rather than, obviously, we've always kind of judged our tire wear by pixel, like the amount of red visually. But I wonder if they'll add. I think it'd be very cool to see on the MFD. You can change the MFD to your tire life, and it's, instead of just the red and white graphic, you've also got your percentages by the tires.
Didn't Gran Turismo 6, I think, have a similar thing? Because I remember
6 had it, but it was up to 10.
Yeah, it was just a number from like 10 to 0, which was your tire life.
So nearest 10%, basically.
Yeah, essentially, and it was for every given tire, as opposed to just your set as a whole. So
so this was front and rear, I think, was what Austria was showing. So I thought that was quite interesting, and I hope they bring that to the game, because that'll add a little bit of well, part of me hopes they do, part of me hopes they won't, because I guarantee if they do bring it, someone will go out of their way to find the exact percentage threshold that a tire cliffs at, like officially. Like they'll just be from 85 to 84%. The tires performance changes so much, and I think someone will find that, and everyone will just go by that, and it will throw strategy out the window.
I think that it's not going to be so much that, but what I'm more worried about is people use it to figure out, like they crank it to 50 times or something, then they go around a single corner and figure out the best possible way to go through that corner without wearing the tires.
Okay.
So then you do that, and then you just completely revolutionize the driving style of every single driver, and we all have to change our driving style because suddenly all this information's out about how we can drive perfectly and not even wear the tires.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense.
That's of course counting on there being a lot of tire races. I mean, especially this coming batch of races that we've got this weekend, a lot of them are 1 tires, so it's like,
we've seen a lot of that lately, haven't we?
That's true.
Having said that, the soft tires, even on 1 times, they wear remarkably quickly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but do they go off a cliff as such, though? Do they? Maybe they're a little bit. There's a bit of notice, but they don't really.
I think on like a 2-minute lap, generally you get 7 laps on a track. Like, for example, the Nürburgring GP, I'd expect to get 7 laps out of a soft tire on 1 times tire wear. I think. I'm just making up a figure, but I'm pretty sure that's kind of close to accurate. And 7 laps on a tire is very, very short.
It is actually. That was the first thing I thought when you said 7 laps.
I say that sounds a bit Yeah,
But
I think you
I'd
should
honestly
selling it a
believe it.
little bit.
I'd honestly believe it, to be honest. But yeah, obviously, it is
I'm
very
yeah,
short
I'm
life.
not. I've got nothing to back that up with, but I feel like that's roughly what the soft tire life is like. Do you have a closer idea of what the soft tire wear is like, Matthew, on one times?
Not in particular, because with Nations and with TGR, we're driving completely different cars every round, and so
Yeah.
you know, I can't just do a Group 3 reference because I haven't driven a Group 3 car in a sport mode.
Was the
race
manufacturer's race at Austria 1 times tires?
No, it was
Or
2-2.
times? It was
So
2
I'm pretty
times.
sure that was 2 or 3.
Okay,
So
and they were getting 10 plus laps out, weren't they?
Yeah. Well, they
Yeah,
had to do
okay.
14, and most cars were enjoying that 14th lap more than they would enjoy a 14th on mediums or hards. At least one of them.
Right.
Okay.
Some of them were slower than mediums by the time they got to their lap 14, so they had to get off it immediately. They would have liked to do 12 or something.
Yeah, I thought that was the case. There were a couple of guys that were really off the pace for the last couple of laps of their stint.
Yeah,
But
just mad at the
in
tyres.
terms of Austria and Salzburg, do you want to kind of explain to us, and I suppose to people who don't know, because obviously we've spoken to you prior and after the event, so we know a little bit more. But to anyone watching who this is the first World Tour they've seen, and all they've seen is the 2 days worth of action. What did the trip look like for you? When did you fly out? When did you come back? When did you know you were going? And what was the day-to-day apart from competition days?
Well, I'll start with when I knew I was going, because, well, that's kind of where the story starts. Basically, through the 2021 World Finals, when I made it through the semi-final to the final, the grand final, I basically looked at that and figured, I reckon they're going to base an event off this and take the grand finalists, because they did that for 2019 through to 2020. They chopped some competitors and only brought 24 to Sydney. And I figured if they're going to run an event next year, they're going to take that. So I celebrated. No one else celebrated. I was basically the only guy who even had a smile on their face, which was quite funny. I looked at the recording and I was like, okay. And then it just kind of goes dead silent over the off season, and then
Where the release
April,
of GT7
May comes out. What was that?
Where the release of GT7 in between then and obviously the announcement for World Tours this year.
Yeah, and so then the 2022 season drops, and some documents were saying that World Series Showdown was going to be an online event, and some were saying that World Series Showdown was going to be held in Austria. And it also said that the 16 people who made it to the grand final of Nations would automatically be going. And so I'm going, holy shit, I'll take that. You know, it was pretty exciting. Found that out at 2 a.m. when the season dropped. And then checked online in the next couple of days and with Polyphony, and eventually they clarified, yep, it is not it's not online, it's going to be in Austria. And I'm like, yeah, boys, I'll take it.
Wow, that's
Extra
cool.
trip. And I'm
awesome
pre-qualified.
news.
No one else could be sure about it except for Andrew, and well, he didn't end up showing up anyway.
But he qualified according to that World Finals the previous year.
Exactly.
Didn't he?
Yeah.
Wow,
So,
and then you you received that word how long in advance? Like a month in advance? 2 months?
that was like 2-3 months in advance.
Yeah.
Even. And then I got a message from Polyphony saying, hey, you know, since you're pre-qualified, if you want, we can start looking at your flights now. So I got a DM on Discord saying, hey, got flights here, these flights. And then those flights actually got whisked out from under me. Basically, I was just looking at them and then they got deleted, saying,
Jeez.
we could, it's not a very good option. And so, like they just got deleted while I was reading them, going, these seem like a decent option. I'd like to fly this way, because flying through Dubai wouldn't be quite as unique as it would be compared to flying through the US. Although,
Yeah.
in hindsight, that sounds like it wouldn't be that fun anyway, because TSA is TSA. It was
That's true.
two different airports, one on the west coast, one on the east coast. So that wasn't going to be
Ah,
too
so
fun.
you would have done a domestic US flight.
Yes, would have
Wow.
been very inconvenient, but that's fine. But yeah, no, that got deleted, and then got my other flights organised like sort of 2 weeks later when everything kind of calmed down, ironed out, and the flights were ironed out just about before everyone else finished the season and got themselves qualified.
I guess that was their deadline, right? They were like, "Oh, we're going to have to send out a whole another batch of emails to these qualifiers. We got to get our pre-qualifiers sorted ahead of time
Yeah,
and get that
it was
done."
only 16 though, so not too scary.
Yeah.
Wow,
And you
only
didn't take
15.
part. You didn't take part in that Nations. Or you did take part in that Nations Cup season, didn't you?
I did.
I
I
think
even
you
won a
mentioned
race
that-
actually.
I think you mentioned that you were one of the only drivers in the world that did that.
Yeah,
Oh, the
apparently
pre-qualified
so.
drivers.
I didn't check or anything, but apparently all the pre-qualified drivers just didn't even show up to the other events in other
Jeez.
regions. So they just kind of
Mm.
just cruised, maybe took manufacturers or TGR.
So just to be clear, you weren't required to actually race in that First Nations Cup season.
No, none the slightest. I wouldn't have even had to play. I wouldn't have even ever had to play GT7 at all.
Wow.
You could have just
could've
gone on
just turned
vacation.
Turned up washed. That'd be great.
They gave us a copy of
that's-
GT7, and I reckon they did that to make sure that we actually had all the tools that we needed to do World Series Round 1, which we were pre-qualified for, because otherwise we wouldn't have even... Well, like, we would have had to technically buy
Able to-
GT7 just to compete in it.
Yeah.
That's right. So before Austria, you did the online Nations Cup, didn't you? What did they call that? Just the World Series Round 1.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just
World
the
Series Round 1.
yeah.
Yeah, and then
So
World
what
Series
was that
Round 2 and
like?
3 coming.
What time of day was that for you?
It wasn't a disaster. It wasn't like 3 a.m. start like regional finals 2020 were.
Jeez, man. That's
so
rough.
yeah, more like 1 a.m. for that one, which was tolerable for me. And yeah, well, it still wasn't particularly fun being up that late and having to be on top of my game. But
No,
It
but
wa- it
your,
was-
your
it-
sleep
it
patterns are
wasn't
out of
a
whack
big deal.
anyway.
yeah, it wasn't that big of
Yeah.
a deal for me anyway. I wasn't gonna set the world on fire. I wasn't relying on that result anyway.
No,
I was
it
just
would have
happy to
been
already be going
very,
to Salzburg.
very low stakes, that one, I suppose.
Oh
right?
yeah,
They give you World Championship points for like top 3, was it? And
yeah,
that's
3,
about
2,
it.
1.
So they got to give you something, if you win it. But they just give you the bare minimum that they possibly can.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, I remember I was watching that the morning after it aired with Conrad from Ping Zero while we were in Tauranga, and we were watching it and checking it out. And like the first few laps, you got so much TV time because you made this massive charge up the field from mid pack or something, and
I
you were
remember
on
that,
for
actually, yes.
you were on for a top 2, and then it all went wrong, I think.
It was a good run, but it wasn't going to go that well. It definitely wasn't on for a top 2 or even top 3 because like
You
Fraga
were on
started
to-
on the hards.
Provisionally get top 2 is what I mean. You were going to be second on the road at
Oh
one point.
yeah.
without
Well, I
pit
was
stop.
technically even.
You were too, yeah, you were.
But yeah, it's
what did you do? You said I think you mentioned you had a really good start.
Yeah, I practiced the grid start and made up a couple spots off there because I figured out that TC wasn't needed and it was slightly faster if you nail it without TC. And then got a couple of spots off the grid because of that and because I was on softs. And then just made my way through the pack, but then lag
Yeah.
ended up getting thrown off.
Such a shame.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see so much TV time for a Kiwi though. It doesn't happen all the time, and it's starting to happen more and more often thanks to you.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it to be honest because like in Salzburg itself, it happened again where I was in the last qualifying spot that whole race, never even changed. And so that semi-final, the cameras were basically like once or twice they swapped off to Yamanaka and CRV battling, but
Yeah.
it was a lot of Yamanaka trying to catch up to me and just bouncing off the dirty air.
Right.
Yeah, that was a happening thing. So you flew out to Salzburg on which day?
On Wednesday, I caught the bus down to Wellington, which was frustrating.
Why was that frustrating?
Because I have an airport in my home city and I would happily have flown from it.
Fair enough. That would be annoying.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But
Hey, fair enough.
that's fine. At least I didn't have the like 1 hour 10 connection turnover that I had in Monaco, or going to Monaco 2019, where Auckland Airport.
That's always going to be a bit
Palmy,
rough.
Auckland.
Oh, Palmy, Auckland.
Yeah. So then, basically I got transferred very easily because I was fast enough. Auckland Airport was not fast enough, and my luggage was a day late.
Oh, yeah.
Mate.
no.
Honestly, I've had a
That's
very
fun.
similar experience at Auckland Airport. They're terrible, mate. They're bloody terrible.
They just don't
Was
care
tempted
sometimes.
just to call them in and say, hey, I've had this issue. Is there like some kind of compensation, financial or otherwise, that you're prepared to give to people who you've failed, basically?
Probably just
Never
be like,
did.
oh, there's something in our terms and conditions that says that if it happens, it's not our fault, and if it does happen, sorry.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
bet. It probably happens way too often. So you arrived in Salzburg Wednesday morning local time? Wednesday afternoon local
Nah,
time?
Thursday midday.
Thursday midday. Whoa.
Yeah.
So
So flights were about 25 hours in the air with about a 30-hour
God.
flying itinerary, and about 36 hours if you include the start of the bus and the 3-hour wait there at Wellington Airport.
Wow.
So, yeah,
terrible
36 hours
experience. Do
later.
better.
How long were you in the air for? 25 hours, did you say?
24, 25, yeah.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Jeez,
So
Same with Monaco.
man.
Oh, that's
Pain.
mental. That is mental. That's what happens when you go to the other opposite corner of the world, though, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
That's what you get for being fast.
Lucky
Yeah.
I'm not fast.
First world problems, eh? Oh, I was flying for so long.
I was so fast in Gran Turismo. I got flown out for free. Oh,
Speaking of
what an
being
inconvenience.
flown out, did you mentioned your reward points, and I think you said
Yes.
Simon Bishop actually got put up a bit higher class because he had frequent flyer points from his previous world tours.
Oh yeah, he was already Emirates Silver, and so he got to go to the Dubai Emirates private lounge, business class lounge, and so he would smuggle out a couple of drinks for us. Me and Connor were both
What a
there.
lad.
Oh, true.
we
So you
were
were with
on the
Connor
same
as
final
well.
flight.
That's great.
So
Drinks, or with,
Oh.
like good drinks, or was it just like, hey, here's some chilled water?
it was some off-brand canned stuff that I'd never heard of before.
Was it any good?
Off-brand. It was probably the good stuff over there. We just never
Oh,
heard
yeah,
of it.
Probably.
Premium, sparkling, whatever.
Grape.
And so you got to fly with those guys, and what was once you got there, you obviously had like a day and a half to kill. What'd you do?
It was interesting. There wasn't actually an awful lot to do, so we kind of just went
Right.
shopping. Simon had a story about how he tried to go shopping about 6 different times and only made it to Red Bull World about once.
Red Bull World.
Yeah, it's just a Red Bull souvenir shop. They got car models and stuff. He did actually end up buying a car model for like
I bet he
160
did.
euros.
He loves the car model. Does
Oh
Cy
yeah.
Bishop.
I rate that.
Yeah, Red Bull F1, pretty recent, I think.
Makes sense.
And yeah,
Nice.
it was a nice place. But yeah, they brusquely kicked us out at 6 p.m. when their store closed. Like, so
wow.
like fair enough, but like, oh man, they were in a hurry.
They were hardcore. Wow, that's
They don't
quite
mess
funny
around.
because
Wow.
That was just the same with everyone there. Like, we had a couple waiters who were, when we were having lunch and dinner and stuff at various places, some of the waiters were very polite and calm and quite pleasant to be around, and some were just tell me what you want, please. And Wiener Schnitzel. Wiener Schnitzel again, please. Over here. Yep. Okay. What do you want to drink? Tell me what you want. Yeah, very
to the point. Very to the point.
Give the menu to me, sir. And I was like,
That's great.
Don't get on these guys' nerves.
Was there like tipping culture over there, or was it?
Oh no,
you just pay the fee.
Well, we didn't pay the fee. So
Well, okay, yeah.
So,
you get your dinners paid for. But that's cool. So no tipping culture. So they're not too worried about their performance, I suppose.
No, no, definitely no overly nice kind of like wild people, which honestly I think is good.
What about the Friday?
Like
was
that,
it?
Yeah.
Oh, so the Friday's kind of funny.
Did you get to practice at all?
Oh no, we didn't even get to go to the hangar until Saturday.
Wanted to ask about like practice and sort of like what sort of. I mean, obviously, in the lead up to any world tour, there's it's the top of the game, but then obviously Watkins Glen was quite prominently featured, and that's a track that's only been in the game for so long. So, like, what do you do when there's a new track like that that's so you couldn't escape it? It was daily races. It was FIAs.
You've done a couple of races there, I think.
Yeah, we'd had plenty. It was basically inaugurated into GT7's culture, and everyone was decent at it. Laguna's the only one that I've ever done where I didn't get a chance to properly practice on it on the same game, and that didn't go well. I was 4 seconds off the pace and crashed a couple times. So yeah, those 4 laps were some very sad 4 laps, and I'm just glad that they're over.
So no practice on the Friday. What'd you spend the day doing?
There wasn't an awful lot to do. There was like content capture and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And
doing
so
like press stuff for them.
Yeah, do your photos and your mugshots and stuff.
Yeah, photos. A couple of like short, sort of like 1 to 2 second clips of us, like doing the arm fold, the turn to the camera, the stare down, whatnot.
The dramatic stuff. Yeah.
You feel like a professional actor and stuff, like a sports model doing that.
Oh, they gave us a whole little like pad to like wipe down our face so that it wasn't shiny. pretty posh, pretty fancy. I went back to the bathroom. No makeup.
No.
But yeah, it felt pretty fancy. Went back to the hotel room and actually looked at the mirror and I was like, not bad. I'll take that.
Cool.
Just look at it. What a lad. Are you getting added as an NPC into GT in the future, or?
I mean, I'm already a name for the drivers.
But are you going to pop up as, "Hi, I'm Matthew McEwen. I like this car and this track"?
Extra doubt, I'd say.
Probably too late now. They've sailed that ship a little bit.
Yeah, like there's just not much space for it left, and if there is space, they'll use like Killian and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously
they are still adding, offline events and stuff. I'm still pretty disappointed that Bathurst's only got one event. It's like,
I didn't know that. It's just one.
A Japanese 4-wheel drive cup or something, and it's
right.
Yeah,
lovely.
But then you go to somewhere like Tokyo or Sardinia, and there's
10
all these different. Yeah,
it goes off the side, and they have to have a scrolling thing.
I can't complain. It was a daily race just the other week, so it's not like it's being not used, but
not like Bathurst's a good track or anything anyway.
Oh, rightio,
it's not.
Rightio, mate.
I'll stand by my decision that it's not a good track.
They are. It's 2-2 now. You guys
he can't finish the sentence. He's raging so hard.
This is gonna get made into a clip, and then we're just gonna use the like to dislike ratio to see what the public opinion is.
Patriotic Australian gets bullied by 3 New Zealanders.
That's the clip. That's the clip.
Sounds like the wrong kind of title.
It depends what website we're uploading.
Now you're taking it the wrong way.
Hey, wait a minute. Hey, ooh.
So you did nothing on Friday except press stuff.
Yeah, and that was our big time to go shopping. Besides Monday, where our flight departed Monday on at 10 p.m. Munich.
Whoa.
So we had all this time until 1 p.m. at Salzburg where we could just do whatever the hell we wanted. Pretty sure
Yeah.
that's when Simon got his car.
Yeah.
So,
So you weren't kind of under lock and key. No one was kind of like, "Hey, no, you're supposed to be here all the
Nah,
time."
very little of that. It's not an awful lot of control because they just tell you, you got to be at this area and you can stay in these areas if you want to stay with staff and stuff and make sure you're always like under control, always safe and stuff. So you don't actually have to like explore the city or anything, but you just can, and then you get a chance to if you're only doing one competition, so you don't have to be at the hangar all day for both days. You get to go on one of the tours of the city.
Right, okay.
That's quite cool.
So,
So if you just went for nations and not manufacturers, you're not forced to be part of the crowd. You can just bugger off and go do a tourist thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
That's quite cool.
Saturday I only turned up at the hangar at like 4 or 5 p.m.
And that was manufacturers' day?
That was manufacturers' day, hence why I wasn't there. And then, like they'd already done a whole bunch of practice and stuff earlier that day.
Oh.
So I'm curious actually, how long before the Nations Cup race did you know the combination?
It was a surprisingly long time, about almost 2 weeks.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
It was before you even left.
Normally it's dead on 1 week, so you get it like roughly on the weekend before the event, and so that's an odd disadvantage for the people who fly out really early, because normally you'd be flying out Tuesday for the the earliest people, and then arriving Wednesday, but they just didn't do that this time. And then the people who fly out really late, like Thursday and Friday, they can get a lot of extra practice, and so I think it was a decent way that they did it this time, where everyone gets slightly, like, of course there's the extra 1 or 2 days of practice for the European guys, but it wasn't so bad because everyone got a week of practice minimum, and do you
get much
I
in the
like
ways?
that.
Do you get much like the combos get announced and that's cool? Oh, look at that Group 3 at Watkins Glen. Get like a lot of the World Tour guys collaborating, and Coco Lopez, hey guys, let's do a practice lobby, and they all sort of practice, or is it everyone does himself?
It's almost always everyone just doing it very quietly by themselves. Sometimes between regions they'll do it when they've got the same combo, but they know that they won't be battling each other. So, for example, I could go to the one of the American guys and say, let's practice Quali, general Quali, because everyone did Quali. But then we split off into our own semi-finals, so it's very unlikely to affect me, because repechage is at the same combo. Maybe they'll beat me in the repechage, but the chance of that's not that big of a deal. But we could work together for Quali. But no, none of the Japanese guys worked together for, worked with us for semi-final. We did happen to end up in the same lobby as Kawakana one time, but the chatter there wasn't... we didn't really talk or anything, and he ended up leaving very shortly afterwards. This time it was it's just because we're trying to win. We're here to win. We're here to help each other win.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
You've already seen how competitive the Japanese get, especially when Oceania is concerned.
Oh yeah,
true.
They would happily keep us out.
We've actually seen many times as well. Well, I've seen if you join a lobby that a Japanese top split driver is running for a manufacturer's round, for example, you'll see them practicing in a 6-7 car slipstream train in these lobbies.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is quite interesting to me, that they work together like that. But it's a thing. It's a trend. It's a thing they do.
That's okay. It's all good. The Oceanians could do it too.
The competition day itself, Matthew, what was the atmosphere like? What was the event like to watch? What was your experience like in there, watching the manufacturers, and then obviously on your race day as well?
For manufacturers, well, of course the atmosphere for me was pretty calm. Most of the nations only guys were just kind of enjoying the fun. They'd only just turned up to the event, and then we kind of got to hang around the hangar, do some things, and then we get pulled over to the stage. right before Manu, they did GT Sophy races, and so we did actually get to race against Sophy.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I got my race, and well, I was pretty rubbish because I hadn't practiced the combo. But like, no one could beat the AI. It was just totally unbeatable. But there was a weird little thing where it didn't appear to have been trained in dirty air, so it was literally perfect. It could destroy any of us in clean air by like a whole second. Like, I'm talking Yamanaka would get crushed the moment it got ahead. He got 4 whole races against it because he was replacing Miyazono in the actual like cameras rolling demo races, but he also got 2 races off the
Personal
camera.
ones, just private ones, like you got.
Yeah. So I got one little cameras off one, and then that was it, which was a shame.
Which track was it at?
So it was AMG GT3 at Maggiore, 4 laps. In the end, it was supposed to be 3 according to Toyo, but it was 4. So it's me.
Who got the closest to beating Sophy? Well, obviously, no one beat her, but who got the closest?
It was probably Yamanaka on his second race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know how far off he
pretty
was?
quick. He held it off for like 3 whole laps and then let it pass on the last one.
It started behind, did it?
So it started. Basically, we got P1375 on the grid. It got 2468.
Right.
And so there was one unfortunate person who really only got one chance to hold off the AI, and then
had to do that.
Well, that was me. Oh wait, no. So I was sitting in Rig 7, but I got started in P5, and which he actually got put in P7, which was kind of sad for him because we were definitely not supposed to be ordered like that. But I started P5, punted the AI into T1. I completely destroyed it
R4M.
up to P4, and then I just ran off the road at Maggiore and T5, that big long sweeper, and just drove off the track. And, never saw the AI again.
That's no. What did you do that for, mate?
That's rough.
I had no practice.
I'm kidding.
Does Sophy know how to recover? Like, you see it all the time on these offline races. If one of the AI goes off the track, they'll just park it on the infield and they'll wait for the entire field to go by before they actually rejoin the track. Like, is Sophy a bit
trying
more...
to do a safe rejoin?
Yeah. We don't know. I don't know if it did any safe or unsafe rejoins. I didn't get a chance to pay attention to that. I imagine that it's got some programming in because it does like to go for dives, which shows that it has got some significant awareness that there's a car in front of it and to its side when it does eventually get alongside. But the dives it goes for are very, very rough, and it doesn't really care. It doesn't have any sportsmanship or anything like that. It just goes for dives whenever it feels like it can.
It doesn't have emotions, mate. It doesn't care if you call it
the hole. She'll make the hole.
You gotta.
So what happened when she was in dirty air? Did she struggle?
Just kept going deep every corner.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it would not compensate for the extra speed. So we got to talk to the GT Sophy guys who programmed it. The main guy who runs that like division or something, he doesn't know an awful lot about cars. He openly admitted this to me. And so, he said, like, it's trained by repetition, it's trained in a lot of different circumstances, but I'm pretty sure that it's not trained in dirty air. Because once it got alone, it was perfect every single time. And it would just completely smack Yamanaka and, everyone else as well.
It would not be hard to train Sophy in dirty air if you just put 2 Sophys on track together.
I guess I just didn't do it. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, but, like, for a place like Polyphony... Not knowing anything about cars isn't a very good prerequisite for...
It's not Polyphony. Sony AI is a different branch. They're not related to Polyphony. They just take the project and work with it.
Yeah,
well,
I know.
They're
PD
flagship
just provide the
racing
platform,
brand.
don't they?
Yeah.
I think that it's a feedback that they might take for next time. Because it was obvious that it was a big discrepancy. Because, it would match Yamanaka rather than... and it would gradually get closer and closer. And eventually on lap 4, it would finally not make enough mistakes to actually just stay falling behind.
It was actively
just
learning.
Go by.
It's not that it was learning. It was more so just the fact that it was always better. It just kept going like 6/10 crash down to like 1 second.
Right. Okay.
Get up to 5/10 crash down to 0.9 and just eventually made it.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got a question then. Does the Sophy AI train itself based on the lines it takes? So, like, does it know when it goes deep, or does it train based on lap time? Like, will it kind of realise, oh, if we do this, the lap time will be shorter? Or, does it detect if it goes deep or whatever?
I don't know exactly how it runs.
That's right.
I don't know the dark depths of it, but there's two real ways that it could be done. It could be just like pure neural network, like AlphaZero was for chess, where you can't really understand anything about the decisions it made because it is just purely made from scratch by the machine. Or you can have an AI where you give it a whole bunch of parameters like distance to the edge of the track from the side of the car for each side, front and rear, and then like a whole bunch of probes that are coming out from like 45 degrees front left, rear left and stuff, and have a whole bunch of those, so it knows it's this far from the edge of the track.
Right.
And then it can potentially analyze the shape of some corners.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess would have to do every corner, and then make a decision based on that, and then it could go through and decide what's the fastest way to get through here from point to point, straight line to straight line across the track, and then it would go, okay, this is the best way through here. If we line it up like this at the start, brake at this point, turn in at this point this much, and do that all the time, and if we've ever got a discrepancy, where we're 50 centimeters from the left of the racing line, let's brake harder, do this, get it back online.
Right.
Something like that.
God, it's interesting. That's so intriguing.
It's complex, but it does it very quickly, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other things that it would be doing that are more complex that actually stress the CPU.
I find it really funny that you say that the main programmer of Sophy is not a car person, because that explains why he doesn't cringe when Sophy goes four wheels in the dirt on entry to a corner.
Yeah.
Or uses the Le Mans
why
pit
not?
entry.
If it works in
I
game.
was just going to bring up the Le Mans pit entry. Yeah.
I mean track,
within the limits.
Track, apparently. No,
it is. They program the limits, but he doesn't look at that.
If it doesn't get a penalty, the game. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
But I don't think he did look at it too poorly. I think he quite enjoyed watching it do crazy stuff.
Because the reason I asked that question before is because like when you said it kept going deep in dirty air, it sort of got me thinking, is like the slipstream advantage that it was gaining, like was it enough down the straights to ensure the lap time was still short enough, such that it didn't really think it was doing anything wrong by going deep?
Was that, and just the fact that it is just far too good anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it was already significantly faster, and the errors would really only bring it back on par.
Mm.
And then, through the S's, it was totally unbeatable. So if you ever got out of slip, through the S's at Majori, it had this flick that it would do. So apparently in the Mercedes GT3, you can go right to left, where we're struggling in the Radical right now for Nations. When you go right to left for second to third apex, it just flicks it hard, and the car just appears to slide just perfectly every single time. Since it is Sophy, of course, it'll get it right every time, and it gets it wrong in the dirty air because it's got less grip than it expects, and so the inputs are clearly not calibrated to the amount of grip that it's got.
It'd be remarkable if in that situation Sophy lost it completely and literally lost like a whole second. And had to recuperate all
it did get pretty close to doing that a couple times.
Wow.
It was pretty loose, and it would lose a lot of time through there in some very rare occasions. And it was very obvious that it didn't know what to do there when it was behind another car. So it does need to be trained on that.
That's really cool to think about. That is so cool to think about.
I'm intrigued. I'm absolutely intrigued.
I love hearing that Sophy has a failing.
But it'll get trained
the perfect racing AI, and it's still got flaws. In its current state, does Sophy can it race tyre wear and fuel wear and all that? Can it account for all of that, or is it just races where there's no fuel or tyre strategy to worry about?
Pace, hey?
I don't know for sure, but I got some extra tidbits from that guy. So it's trained by repetition, so it just trains constantly on the same conditions. So that suggests that it would struggle with tyre wear and stuff. given that the characteristics would change. But there is also a different AI that they've got working that is slower, but it is dynamic. It can come to a new track and
Right.
do the same thing. So, for example, those parameters, with like the probes coming out, going on, 10 meters to this side of the track, 1 meter to this side of the track. Those mechanics would be a lot more important for that AI because it is slower and it needs to dynamically make a decision on the track, literally the first time it gets to it. Because it hasn't trained for days.
Right.
I
Not to
believe it's
mention
12
the
days
change
or
to
something.
wet weather or anything like that as well.
Oh,
Yeah, well,
God.
exactly.
that's the other thing too. Wet weather or off-road tracks. Like I feel like a lap around Fisherman's Ranch, for example, would be very unpredictable, especially with like jumps. Anything with like a jump or a sort of undulation like that.
I think
would be
with an
very-
AI, you can train in like perfection over the same corner. Once the AI figures out how to do it, it'll be able to hit it the same every time.
Yeah,
Unless
it
there's
does
a
aim
change
for
in
perfection
something.
at Sardinia
Especially
A.
with-
Sardinia
especially with-
windmills.
Yeah, but especially with like like Gran Turismo 7 at the moment. I mean, it's got like dynamic wind and dynamic time of day and dynamic. There's so many variables.
That'll
It's
all
not
throw it
just
off.
The wind
Oh,
would throw it
okay.
off, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
Sophie
yeah,
would have been no wind. Right.
the thing
Yeah.
is that those bumps are deterministic, so it can just do those perfectly every time. But with the wind and stuff, it would have to use that new AI where it is fully dynamic.
Does this new
The
AI have a
Sardinia
name?
one, it's probably just
G-
Sophie, but just
GT
a different
Daniel.
version, different.
Okay.
It'll be like Sophie version 2.0 or something.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, if you give it a male name, that'd be great.
Greg.
Sophie, just GT Greg, Greg Orange, Greg Bleu. So your
James.
competition day. Oh, James.
But yeah, so like Sophie at like Sardinia windmills, like one of the test races was there, and it just nailed those bumps at the final sector perfectly, and it wouldn't get any funny bounces, and when it would just compensate very quickly because
yeah.
even though it can't just teleport the wheel from like straight to upside down, it can do it still pretty quick. It has a programming on it that does prevent it from moving instantly, and if it does move instantly, it does go slightly faster, but it does require a full retrain because it has to train with that limitation in mind.
Right.
Yeah, I guess because Sophie is designed to be an example of how fast a human could be if they were perfect.
Yeah.
Like
The
you
fastest
should be able to
impossible
theoretical.
possibly be able to replicate what Sophie can do.
Fastest theoretical lap time. Any given car at any given track.
I've always had a thought experiment about that. Like,
Yeah.
I guess thought experiment was probably the wrong term, but it's just an idea I've always entertained in my head. Like, there has to be an actual mathematical perfect way to take every corner on a lap to get. Like, there has to be a theoretical absolute smallest lap time at a combination. So,
Absolutely.
like, the fact
That's what
the absolute
Sophie's going
optimum.
for.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it is physically impossible to go any quicker than whatever that threshold is, and I don't know, I think just Sophie is going to be pretty much as close as we're ever going to get to that, and I just find it so interesting, eh?
Well, once she's in, people will be able to take Sophie's lap and subtract human error out of what goes into it. Like, for example, putting 3 wheels on the dirt for Sophie is obviously possible to do perfectly every lap, but no human could do that. So you stay on the track and you take every other bit of information that Sophie provides about that corner and roll with that. And
Regarding the grass line,
If Sophie takes 3 wheels on the entry to a corner and then you don't do that, it will change the rest of the corner.
It would, yeah.
So Majore final corner on entry.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Oh,
Grass.
God.
But unlike GT Sport, there's no big bounce when you rejoin onto that curb. So it is remarkably consistent, and I tried it on the last lap and it worked. So turning in there, I just turned in from the grass and it just came in comfortably.
Wow. Okay.
And then just about nailed the corner. It was probably the only corner I did right the whole race because I was terrible that race. I was not comfortable on those rigs. It's pretty
We'll try it in the
atrocious.
radicals tomorrow night. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got radicals at the same track. That's
this episode's going to come out, and this is either going to have aged really well or really poorly.
Exactly.
So Salzburg in general,
Yeah.
Your competition day on Manufacturers Day, you did Sophy before the Manufacturers competition?
Just before Manu, and then Manu happened.
Settle back and put your hands behind your head and watch the show.
Yeah, well, I was very nervous after that because I realised, hold on, this is really different. It's almost impossible for me to race normally. I felt so uncomfortable. I was just actually like really scared because I was thinking, how am I possibly going to drive that Super Formula properly when I was spinning it every every other lap at home. Well, not every other lap, but every 10 laps or so. And you need to make 10 laps.
Yeah, it's a 10-lap race. So you were just sitting there thinking about tomorrow. You didn't actually watch what happened. Speaking of what happened, actually, what was your reaction, I suppose, and what was kind of happening when the lobby went down in the manufacturer's series?
I wanted to ask this.
Oh my god. I'd just been talking to Saika because Saika was thinking, what happens if the internet goes down or something, and I'm like, it'll just be on a private LAN. They'll have a router that's dedicated to this, and nothing else will be connected to it. That's how they will have been running all these events. And then lap 4 comes along, blip blip, and then it's just gone. So sure enough, they didn't have everything connected to a separate router. They had it all connected to the router where all of the systems were running through. I believe that includes even the free Wi-Fi.
I was going to say, can you imagine
so they had
had it hooked up to the guest Wi-Fi?
So they had the official televised race connected to the same internet as the bloke in the bathroom downloading.
Hey, wait a minute.
Are you talking about yourself,
but yes.
No, I wasn't there, mate.
Smock speaking from experience.
I'm just saying,
now we know what Smock does in the bathroom.
No!
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to edit that one out, mate. Oh my goodness.
Well.
Why?
No, that's fine.
It's just the principle. It's just the principle of it. So they had it on the same Wi-Fi as any Joe Blow in the audience doing anything they want on their own device.
Same router would have had very different permissions and stuff, and probably QoS prioritizing it. But it was running through the same router, a lot of things, and so then of course that's why it took so long, is because they were they took 45 minutes, probably. They were setting up a whole new router and connecting everything to that, so that the event would be run isolated with a router that would not get overloaded.
So what they should have done from the beginning.
Exactly, and what I had theorised they'd been doing as professionals the whole time.
Well, you would think that. You would think that.
You would.
That'd be the first thing I'd do.
What did you say, Nate?
That was only, the second or third red flag ever in World Tour?
I think it was the second we've ever seen in a live event. Yeah.
Yes. Third that I've ever experienced because of World Series Showdown last year in manufacturers, where I had that lag incident and they had to red flag it. Still the only time I've ever seen a red flag appear on my screen on a release version of the game.
I remember when that.
Yeah, like a yellow flag, blue flag.
It came up flashing red flag in that little graphic where it normally says yellow flag. So it was red, but it was flashing weirdly enough.
I was almost half. Was it shown? Because I don't remember this.
No, this was all off screen.
That was a big thing when it first happened because it was all over Reddit because people didn't know actually in the game that a red flag graphic was even in the game.
I've just found out. I thought it would have been some organizer in the chat typing out red flag and then pressing send.
That's how lobbies work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no.
That's cool.
So, the red flag was potentially only in the live event versions, but then suddenly, it came out on the release version sometime, either at launch or otherwise, and suddenly I got it to pop up on my home game.
You know what I want to know is if the flag, the electronic flag things, if they were red as well.
They would have been, surely.
No,
surely.
they weren't.
You'd think so, but
no,
wow,
they weren't. No.
Okay.
I certainly would love, on a slight side note, I would love to see a race director mode on Grand. Like if you have your lobby of 16,
you'd have to be the
surely,
admin of the lobby, right?
Surely you could have, because
every other sim has this feature.
Project Cars had a race director mode, and iRacing and all that. So, and it's just another example of something that could well get added to the game in the future, but it
might be too complex for the casuals. Because they're so scared of scaring a casual off with too many features. That's the big thing. That's why we don't have start with 10 liters of fuel and choose your starting fuel, because that's going to scare off anyone who just wants to get into a race and go, because they don't want to check their settings and bring their fuel down to 10 liters before every race, or get that set up. And if they forget to do that, they're already at a disadvantage and they've wasted their race. Wasted their time. They come last. They feel sad.
It does make sense.
So that's one thing that used to scare me, pulling my fuel down, because I was like, I've never done this before. Never had to do it in another game. Forza, Gran Turismo, Need for Speed.
I suppose one of the things is that with online lobbies, I mean, obviously you have your casuals, and then you have your more organized leagues. Sector 1 and R and all that sort of stuff, Ruse and all that. For the more serious, more competitive leagues, what I'm saying is maybe you have the lobby split and you have your casuals, and then you have your sort of organized.
It would be a great thing to have, but again, it comes down to too much complication of the game, I think.
It's one of those ones where
also gatekeeping the casuals.
Yeah.
They go, I'm excluded from this. Yeah. Or I don't want to venture into this area, and so they never do. And so they just go, I'm not part of this, so I'm just going to stay casual forever, that would have killed me.
We talked about this with Psydog, in fact, about if you look at the trophy list, and as a matter of fact, it might pay to have a look again now and see if this has changed. How many people have the trophy for finishing one sport mode race?
About 15%, isn't it?
I was going to say, when we talked to them, it was 10% or something, 10.9% have. And that's one race. One of the trophies is to do, I think, 50 races.
50.
So
that's 1%.
Sport mode as a whole, only 10% of the player bases have ever even done one race. So
that's why we're in the campaign, because PD openly said to us, so many people don't even know that the multiplayer exists, or if they do, they just want absolutely nothing to do with it. So they're trying to get people exposed to it through the single player. That's why they're chucking us in their face, in the player's face.
And then you see people complaining about the Need for Speed-esque characters in Gran Turismo's campaign. Did anybody here see that? Someone posted about it on Facebook, why do they have all these Need for Speed-style characters in the thing? I just want to do my races. And I was like, oh, man, chill.
Oh, yeah, I know. I never really found the characters too intrusive. It was just they're there, they talk to you, but you can just easily skip past it.
You don't even have to go out of your way to click on their name most of the time.
I think the most intrusive that they get is probably the license test right at the start. But other than that, I mean, once you've done that,
and when you get that emotional message from everyone at the end.
That's right.
That was a good one, man. That was real good.
I watched
Make
it with
sure
a grin
to
on
eat
my
lots
face,
of
but I can see how
baguettes.
someone
They're
wouldn't.
delicious.
Oh God. Okay, that's an inside joke that I'm not sure needed to actually make it into the game, but I can't believe that they actually brought it in.
Wait, which one was that?
The baguettes.
Joe, I thought that was
Baptiste Beauvoir with the baguettes.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Actually, an inside joke. I thought that was just. Oh, haha, he's French. Let's use the baguettes.
I think
sort
that's
of an inside
it's
joke.
a Beauvoir thing.
French thing.
He awarded Jimmy a baguette for a time trial in 2020 online season.
And Suzu
on
was
like a
also
live stream.
called Wong Baguette F1, and so
That's
then
right, he
in the top
was,
16 superstars, Jimmy was calling him Wong Baguette because that was his username.
He also did the round 30 of the Nations Cup in 2020 with baguettes all over his car on his livery.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're like, there's a bit of a theme here. It's more than just being French. It's something in the GT community.
I
It's his thing.
didn't know, so I was out of the inside joke. I was outside, so that's
Yeah, no, there was a video of I think Beauvoir did a race with Jimmy for like a promotional thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And like afterwards he literally pulled out onto the camera a baguette and awarded it to Jimmy, like virtually. Like he was like, I give you baguette, and held it
Was
up.
that the one?
And it was great.
What was the accent, bro?
Just it was French, that's what it was.
Was that the one where I think I remember one. It might not be, but did like a Gran Turismo 4 mission. Where they had the Ep.6 started, and then they had like a Group 4 car go. And was it one of those ones?
Oh, the one lap
And then-
magic?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't think it was. I think this was something different. I think Beauvoir coached Jimmy a lap round Majore, if I remember correctly, with the aim to get a particular time, and Jimmy achieved the time and was therefore awarded a baguette.
Oh, gotcha. Here's the baguette of success.
So we'll get back on the Austria hype train.
Okay, sorry. Red
We're
flags.
massively off topic.
There's the fourth red flag.
Yeah.
Red flags and Porsches. Yep.
And so manufacturers was basically spent crapping your pants about the Super Formula the following day.
And
how late
watching
did you get
as
to
the
bed?
game just did not work.
Yeah.
And also stressing at the fact that we had to be up at 9 o'clock the next day for between breakfast, a meeting with Kaz online, and then going straight to the hangar. And so we knew that we weren't going to get enough sleep.
Tell us
What
about
time
the
was
meeting
the
with Kaz?
manufacturers? Sorry.
Ooh.
So which one am I answering?
So manufacturers was due to start at what time, and then it got cancelled.
So it
red
was
flag?
9 to 11, and then ended up
Oh,
being about
God,
9
what?
until 1.
What?
Yeah. We ended
In the
up
night?
busing back at 1:30.
In the morning?
Yeah.
Wow.
What?
It was crazy how late it was run, yes.
Wow. That's
Very,
crazy.
very late.
It was
I
delayed,
was
and
thinking-
they couldn't cancel it.
Well, no, I was thinking
They they
1
did
PM?
have a
2 p.m., like have lunch and then go and do the race. That's
how it used to be. Like Tokyo, I believe, was 6 or 7
what
p.m.
the hell? I wouldn't have even gone.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for that,
that
Smoke.
now.
I'm sure
say
you
that
wouldn't
now,
have.
Smoke.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
what. If you make it to Monaco somehow, and then
You're not allowed to watch the other day. Ha ha!
if they start the event at 9, I will make you just.
If I was in
yeah.
a proper position where my race the next day was important enough such that I could win a competition, I probably wouldn't stay the previous
Well,
night.
me
There
personally,
we go.
I'm the
we
opposite.
didn't have a choice because we had to get
I-
bussed back.
Yeah, I don't care because I'm there for the experience. If I qualify, I know I'm not getting a great result, so I'm just there
Well,
to
yeah, I know
have
that
a
as
good
well.
time.
Yeah.
What about the race itself and manufacturers?
It was hard to pay attention the whole time
Right.
because, well, of course, it was a very long race. It's impossible to just keep your eyes on it the whole time. Weirdly enough, with the live broadcast, when that broadcast was happening, there was no commentary that was playing over loudspeaker or anything.
So you
It was
could-
playing over
okay.
loudspeaker for things that weren't broadcast, weirdly enough as well. So the semi-finals, the Sophy races, I believe, were all just used as practice for Jimmy and Tom and Jimmy. And then they might end up broadcasting some of them or something. But yeah, so they didn't have loudspeaker commentary, and they gave us these little pods, little radio receivers that had an aux and a headphone jack on, and then just gave us these cheap as little earbuds, and we could listen to the broadcast that way in either Japanese or English for those little things.
Okay.
And then, you could listen to the broadcast like that. So we were just listening in. Most of us just had one earbud in because it was really annoying. They were finicky, and so like if you nudged them at all, they would just fall out. So what we did was one, and then...
Those are the worst.
Oh, yeah, they were pretty atrocious, to be fair. But yeah, we would just have one in so that we didn't have to, take one in and out and keep shuffling it around to have conversations.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we did that.
Just hear...
But then... Yeah, you just look down at your phone, watch the broadcast from on the Wi-Fi.
Could you hear the commentators just like in the room with you?
You could, and incredibly, you could hear them shouting on the big moments. Like you could hear the Italians and the Spanish guys because they go crazy. Those are absolutely insane.
I gotta watch their reactions.
I believe Jimmy even commented on how loud one of them was at one time because they were so hyped up.
Hear one. I believe you could hear one in the English broadcast. I seem recalling.
I always loved how passionate the Italians, the Italians and the Spanish in particular are probably like the most. I'm not saying that Tom and Jimmy
commentators in any sport.
They always are.
Yeah, absolutely.
You see them in football? Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
Staying objective is not on their radar. They want their countrymen to win. And they will let everyone know.
That's true, but then you also get the Spanish who are, especially Lucas Ordonez, since, he's deep in the racing scene. He's always got this insight regarding, tyre strategy, what people's strategies are going to be, what the strategy is the moment they see it. So he's like, he's doing this. For this strategy, he's got to try and pull this off, undercut or whatever, anything. Going to run these tyres, potentially run this tyre so he gets off that quickly, gets some clear air. He's incredible like that, and Tom and Jimmy just missed the ball on that so much. And so...
I was thinking that. They need an equivalent of a pit reporter or something.
I
guess that's what Super GT was doing.
Super GT, and then they threw him away. Didn't even take any media to Red Bull rank at all.
I did feel as though they needed to expand on what Super GT did previously. I know he was only doing what he was probably told he was allowed to do, but I think now with that new tyre wear graphic and the fuel graphic or whatever, there's definitely room there to actually have a proper pit reporter and sort of let them do their own thing, kind of. But I know exactly what you mean. I bet as a Spanish speaker,
you'd love the Spanish broadcast with that sort of... You got your big, passionate, loud voice on the one side, and you've got Lucas who's explaining the minute details on the right, and you get a perfect balance of hype and detail about the broadcast going on all at once, and that would just be awesome.
That's why I love
and when a Spaniard wins, you just hear just this
oh my god, it would
in
just,
your head.
It would just be going crazy. Because Lucas does go pretty hard as well.
Yeah.
He's not even just like a quiet guy with details. He is going pretty hard on that broadcast as well. And so,
the same dynamic
it would be a joy to watch.
There's kind of the same dynamic that Tom and Jimmy have, don't they? Because Tom's very... Tom obviously does a lot of racing himself, and so does Jimmy, but Jimmy's more of sort of the celebrity and the excitement. You see it pretty much most of the broadcast. I mean, even if you look in the live comments, you get people going, "Oh my god, is that Jimmy Broadbent? Is that Jimmy Broadbent? Wow!" I didn't,
So
but you never see anybody go,
"It's Jimmy."
You never see anybody go, "Oh my god, that's Tom Brooks."
Tom Brooks, the guy who buys a whole $30,000 car every other bloody week. Seriously, he just posts on Instagram. "Oh, I got this car. I got this car. I got this car. I got a new GR Yaris. Got a new Supra. Got a whole new Mustang or whatever."
He got an S2000 now or something?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he dailies that.
He chucked it in the dirt at Brands Hatch not that long ago.
No, I feel like with the English commentary dynamic is kind of... Tom Brooks is kind of the leader of the flow of the conversation. He takes the lead most of the time. Very similar to how you lead this podcast a little bit, with you do the introduction, you do the closeout, it's the same sort of thing for Tom Brooks at the main broadcast, and he's the one that is trying to be talking all the time, and Jimmy is there to fill in the gaps. And
Jimmy does the interjections and stuff. Yeah,
he interjects. Mm-hmm. He's also, I would say, he's partially there because of his sim racing expertise.
Yeah,
be a little bit of an analyst of the tires and the fuel and things like that, because he does come up with a few details.
Have some insight.
Yeah, he does
some
usually.
His insight is quite cool.
But Yeah, he
bounce off each other very well. They do.
they
bounce off
have
each
great
other.
chemistry. They have great chemistry.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what we would do without one of them, to be fair, because we haven't had to work without one of them for more than 3 years now. Actually, I would say it's just about on 4 now.
So Tom was with, because he commentated was it like they did a media event before the launch of Sport? He commentated that too, but
Yeah.
Jimmy...
Sportsmanship
There was
and everything early
The
days.
manufacturer's
Yeah.
Fan Cup and the Nations Cup back pre-launch
Yeah.
and stuff. With I'm pretty sure it was just GT6 effectively. And then there was also the 2018 event. One of them, it was Nürburgring, the very first one. That one didn't even have Jimmer. I think Salzburg did.
Tom goes back. Tom goes back like to day one, whereas Jimmer was like very early in the piece.
Tom goes back to what sportsmanship.
Yeah,
that's true.
What is
He's an
sportsmanship?
What is sportsmanship?
What?
That's true. Wow.
Various improper driving examples.
Anyway,
Don't
so
do things that make you look bad.
Yeah, that's the one.
But yeah,
That's
so
the
Jimmy
one.
turned up late 2018 or so, and then don't know what we'd do without him. To be fair,
no.
he's still very valuable.
In that manufacturers race it was the Saturday, right? So on the Saturday, the manufacturers race, were you surprised by the outcome? Because it was particularly interesting to see the Mercedes up so high. They were second in the end, and they weren't actually that far off the Subaru.
It was knowing that Merc was going to be quite good. Everyone knew that Nissan was up there, BMW was up there. Merc was pretty high up, especially with the talent that it had. Even Fujio, Fujio's not slow.
No, definitely.
Subaru was always just going to be there. It didn't even have to qualify well, and it didn't qualify that well, considering they won. It was just the fact that it had that incredible tyre life. People commented beforehand, Subaru's just going to do 20 laps on soft, and sure, it didn't. But it could do 17, and then 14 hards.
Yeah.
Whereas other guys were doing 14, 20 hards.
Yeah.
So,
and it made all the difference.
It's just that good.
Yeah.
Because it's those middle laps. It's not the last lap that counts. It's those middle laps where the tyres just haven't gone, whereas everyone else's tyres have gone.
So I feel like leading into the World Finals later on this year, there's maybe 3 or 4 manufacturers that could potentially win it. Do you think? We've got Subaru, who are obviously very strong, Mercedes, Toyota, I would say are pretty up there considering their sort of partner status and the way the BOP is looking for them. And I think Nissan as well.
Nissan's clearly been in favour recently as well. So I reckon that the relation's very tight with Subaru and Nissan.
Yeah, Subaru shadow partner manufacturer. Surely, something's going on.
Yeah,
there.
well, and Nissan's felt like that for the last couple of years anyway, especially since Nissan got that understeer update in 2020 and just did not get nerfed for ages. It's felt like the relationship between Kaz and Nissan has been fully repaired, and they're actually happy to give Nissan some really good stuff now.
Yeah,
they're actually back now, eh?
Yeah, suddenly Nissan's actually right there, right at the top, competing well. And Subaru's just clearly been at the top since the start of GT7. They've got the WRX, which is amazing. The new update car, which this early on the life cycle is a bit of an idea. It gives you an idea of what's going on. Then you've also got the fact that it's wildly OP on fuel and tyres. It won World Series Round 1 easily. It won World Series Showdown easily. They don't exactly they haven't exactly shown a massive plan to make it slower. Seems like it's the planned Victor for this year. Because the favourites are there as well. Killian's already suddenly a favourite. Miyazono is just well loved. Daniel Solis is well loved. That's their dream team. Then they would love for Subaru to win. And so I doubt that they will make the combos difficult for Subaru to win this year.
Yeah, it's a strong car.
That's my pick.
You think Subaru I say it's hard to argue with that unless the BRZ gets a nerf of some kind. And then you've got the other manufacturers. If they get the right amount of talent, like if Merck turn up to the World Finals with Lavoie, Benelli, and Andrew, I think they'll be like they'll be really hard to beat. You know,
but then they'll just create the tire wear and fuel, and make sure that that Subaru gets it.
Yeah. Well, you think they wouldn't have any reason to allow Mercedes to win?
I'm sure they they wouldn't make too big of a deal. They wouldn't just massively nerf them or anything. And there's not enough massive differences between those two cars to just automatically make it so that one can compete and one can't, unless they just bop the ever living shit out of one of them. But yeah.
Right.
And the bop was different, you said, right?
Yeah, the bot was different, but it was basically just a precursor to the bot that got put into 1.19 mid-speed bop. I'm pretty sure there wasn't a single difference, except for there was an additional change that was in 1.19 mid-speed, but I think that's just because it was a change that they were able to verify after giving it out to us, but before putting it into the game. So
Adam was going to mention the physics before. I remember hearing about that. The physics were different.
Oh my gosh, yes. So
that's mad. That's madness in my eyes.
Twitchy didn't enjoy it, that's for sure.
He wouldn't.
Well, he hit the wall 3 or 4 times in quali.
A lag problem or something? You said.
Oh, I'll tell you what. I'll go through the handling issues first. Right. So they said, hey, we can't reproduce this curb issue with Watkins Glen, because everyone complained. Everyone's like, hold on, why are you holding another live event when you've just had curb glitches that floored 2 or 3 guys in World Series round 1? So they're like, okay, right? We're struggling, but there and elsewhere as well.
Yeah,
final corner would throw people off, exit of carousel, exit of second to last corner, T1, something else. There was something else that was causing problems.
Bloody curb glitches, man.
Well, they were everywhere, and they just couldn't figure it out. So they admitted to us, hey, we can't reproduce it, but we are just going to try changing the profile of the curbs or something, slightly. And it wasn't that different. It was very subtle, but they did just change the general handling of Group 3, and that Genesis just turned in better. It had different physics. It simply did feel different, and it was faster. And you could tell it was faster because there were people going faster than their home times.
Right.
It would be rare, I would assume.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was within 1/10 of my home time, I believe.
Wow.
And my lap didn't feel perfect, and it wasn't perfect. I was able to basically everyone was going purple. My one was provisional pole for a hot second, and a lot of people were going purple. I went purple for 2 or 3 laps, sector 1.
I'm unsurprised. I'm unsurprised you were provisional pole because you ended up qualifying 3rd, didn't you?
Yeah.
So that was
my time was very early, 2nd or 3rd lap.
Yeah. So that was the Nations Cup qualifier, was held at Watkins Glen in the Genesis. Is that right?
Yes, Genesis Group 3.
And when was that? When was that actually held? Was that because obviously they on Sunday they pre-recorded the races, but you had qualifying before that as well.
Yeah, so they had quali and the practice. So they had practice for semi-final A, then practice for rapid charge, and what they did was so that we could practice quali sort of. Even though it was fuel on, they allowed us to run hard for rapid charge practice. Was an interesting choice, but sure enough, fair enough, suits me. And then I basically just ran the hards the whole time because I was like, well, I'm here for one thing, to qualify well and then do semi-final A well, because I'm not going to do the rapid charge well. I've only run one race, and that was right before shutting the PS5 down to go to Austria. So I wasn't there to win the rapid charge, and I wasn't going to win because I was not fast enough.
Yeah.
And the slipstream train would have killed me anyway, because everyone would have been right behind me and just kind of made 1-2 moves and then I'm out. But so I ran the hards that whole time. Then we went straight to quali straight after that, and no one performed. Could not believe it. because
Wow.
like I believe our
Right.
time was like so Akagi set the best time like 0.670. That was like P10 or something out of the 29 drivers. And then like I was like P18 or something. It was very, very weak showing from our region. And so then I just got a free pass because of the dirty air.
So the race
Yeah.
itself, your semi-final, obviously an awesome result. Third place,
Yeah.
which put you in the grand final and guaranteed you a spot at Monaco later on this year. What was your when you prepared for that race, starting third, you knew you were in a qualifying position. Did you have a plan or anything in particular, or did you have high expectations?
So in practice, I did actually practice with Simon and Twitchy because we all figured like one or two of us can make it through, and the rest of us will just have an easy pass into the event, into Monaco. Because like our goal was to get to Monaco. We knew we were flying to Salzburg, and we knew that we weren't just going to like drop a world championship on anyone. We figured we're here to just make sure that we get to the next event and just have some fun. And so our plan was always just work together in practice, work together in the race. If we're third and fourth or something, one's just going to sit behind, hold the Asian drivers off, and make sure that one of us gets through. And yeah, just in general, work together in the obvious ways without killing each other. And so we were always like going into practice and stuff. We were always going.
Kind of act as teammates, I
just
suppose.
kind of looking at each other like that, basically going, "Come on, you guys can do it." And then sure enough, practice happens, and I was doing terrible, and Simon actually topped one of the practice sessions. And then Quali comes around, and Twitchy bins it into the wall 3 times.
Oh.
Well, at least 2 times because he got too much rotation in the braking for the chicane.
Yeah.
And hilariously, he just rejoins in front of Simon. I believe it happened to him twice. And then
That's awkward. That is awkward.
So Simon finally just gives up because like every time he would get a penalty for that, and then Twitchy would go ahead the next lap when he serves his penalty, and then he finally just goes, "Okay, I'm just going to get out of here. I'm just going to follow Akagi." Akagi's got the pole time by now, I'm pretty sure. And he bins it into the wall, and Simon loses his lap because he gets taken out by Akagi, the fastest guy in the session.
So you were allowed to
Can't
be
write.
qualifying
You
with
can't
slipstream,
write it.
No slipstream. Slipstream was turned off, but it was just
so it
10
was turned
minutes
off.
quali.
but you could follow people.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, it was just 10 minutes open quali, unlike Manu, which was 1 shot.
Yeah.
Did it
It
before,
was
and
very
I'll say
interesting,
it
but I
again,
liked
everyone should just be ghosted for quali. They need to do like that Trackmania thing where like you can see everybody, but you just drive straight
They're
through
all-
them harmlessly because
Exactly, yeah.
we've heard too
It's
many
too
stories
much,
of
yeah.
people getting bottled in quali because of that sort of thing. It's just it's ridiculous.
Gotta treat it like real life, man. Find your space. You know, the F1 drivers managed
yeah.
to do it.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't
if
get a single lap hindered, so clearly there's something about it.
you
Yeah,
wanted
you just
real
had your
life,
shadow
mate,
side.
would
Sounds like Simon just needs to get better, mate. All right, gentlemen.
Nah, like Nathan's got a
I'm
point.
joking.
Here. If you
I'm
want real
obviously
life,
joking.
you go to real life,
Oh, someone
No,
else don't
well,
have the money
yes,
for real
but we're-
life, mate.
or you.
No,
you
but
pay,
but what I was saying was that if you want real life, the tire and the fuel wear should also be on, and the slipstream, and the,
Yeah.
if we're going to turn off everything, why do we still have contact between the? Why can't we just have them
True.
ghosted? I mean,
Yeah, like I don't
I
see
agree-
the problem
I
with
agree
it. It
with you,
doesn't have to
Nismo.
be realistic. Just make it a competition. Make it skill based. Take
Yeah, make
away
it-
the ridiculous dirty air that we've got that's trying to simulate real life. Just make it fun. Take most of it away.
precisely. Or you could spin it off into another. You could do a top 10 shootout type. Like what supercars
Oh,
do.
that'd
but
be
do
awesome.
shootout qualifying. How
How
good would that be?
Oh, I'd love
Yeah.
that.
Well, they do sort of like a one shot, which is as close as you can really get to that with the time
Yeah, but
frames they're given.
You imagine if they did it like, and I don't know, Matthew, if you did anything with the Monkey Motorsport Club, because we did a couple of
I
shootout
remember that.
qualifying,
Oh yeah,
and
it was good.
like it's not just that the drivers got nothing to worry about. It's that the entire show is on. Here's Akagi, he's doing his lap, and you watch his entire lap. You see his splits, bang, bang, bang. Oh, sweet, he's pole. Okay, next up is
Yeah.
Bishop. Oh, here's his. Oh, he's faster than Akagi. Oh, he's slower than Akagi. Oh, bang, bang, bang. Oh, he's and it works through the whole grid. That would just be so
That'd
cool
be
from an
awesome.
entertainment.
That'd
Would
be
be
awesome.
great.
Point
They
of
have
view,
a sped up.
as
They have a
well
sped up version of that, but yeah.
Yeah. I wish that they would do something like that. But hey, I'm not too fussed with just like slipstream free quali now. I think that's fine. And most people are happy to see that. And it went relatively fine, except for, Simon.
Yeah,
it's
pretty livid.
It sounds like he just got unlucky, really.
Yeah, he did. He just got incredibly unlucky, and Twitchy just
time.
refused to give up the spot and just like stay behind him while he was in his phase of just crashing and crashing and crashing.
Yeah.
It happens though. You're stressed out at that point, right? High stress situation.
I know, yeah. I say it in my videos, like, you make one mistake and it often can lead to another.
Fun rattles you,
You end up thinking about your previous
mistakes breed mistakes.
Exactly.
And you're in a high pressure situation, probably the highest pressure that a couple of those guys have been in. Like Twitchy, for example, that's his first live event.
Live
learning experience. That's what it is. So you went into the race and
I was just gonna say we've talked about this before with like live events and the whole atmosphere and the whole. Your first real life live event is usually just going to be sort of acclimatizing to the whole. Oh my gosh! Look at all of this. So
unless you're Killian Drummond.
Unless, well, I heard from Twitchy, he was thrown by all the extra equipment, or not even extra, just new stuff, and then boots and gloves and stuff that he wasn't used to.
Yeah,
that
to
he
wear
now
those
knows
shoes
about,
and stuff.
That he now knows about thanks to this. So
he's got his boots at home
next
now.
one.
He was talking about it last night. He said
he's qualified
once. Boots on at home.
If he's qualified once, it's likely he's going to qualify again. So,
exactly.
He is very fast.
Oh,
I think Twitchy's just about a shoe-in to World Finals, honestly.
Yeah, like he was not happy about how it went when they changed the physics. Because, with the Group 3, it caused extra rotation with a super formula. Oh, man, that was interesting. But he was...
super formula, how it is.
Oh, yeah. Twitchy drives for... Doesn't Twitchy already drive for Genesis and, like, manufacturers? So he would have already... He would have had that extra, like, insight into how it behaves.
Suddenly it just changes.
Yeah.
We got into the super formula practice. And of course, we were all running -5 on the brake balance because we were allowed brake balance for these events. They specifically programmed it in to that we were allowed to, even though it was bop.
Nismo's face just lit up then, even though it was bop. Even though it was bop.
That's a very controversial. It's a very controversial admission. Yeah.
Can we please get brake balance back?
Why is it such a
Sorry,
I don't know.
Anyway, as you were saying, Matthew.
Yeah, so we got told that we were going to have that, and we figured it was going to be a massive, massive, massive deal, because at home, of course, the rear tyres were just dropping off because the car would just go around at any sign. And so, of course, that would cause it to become an even bigger problem, and it would really quite balloon. And at the event, we get there, and, like, everyone's just going flat through 100R. And we're wondering, how the hell are you going flat? It's lap 7 on softs, on worn softs. You haven't been saving them.
We're talking in the race.
In practice. Which was race settings.
Yeah.
I spun on lap 6, and normally that's a death sentence. You have to crawl around until you just like make it to lap 8 or 9 when you can just justify pitting. But I spun on lap 6 in practice on softs, and then I just went around and took 100R flat, easy as lap 7. And I was like, what is going on here? Sure enough, I figured out that when I spun, at home, if you spin, like, once you get to sort of like 30, 40 degrees deviation, it just goes round. I got to 90, and I was, like, full counter steer. And it kind of just held that. It kind of just drifted along perfectly perpendicular. And so I figured out that there's just this clear understeer programming. I don't know if it's an imbalance of grip or it's just some kind of magic force. But yeah, like, you could just get sideways and the car would just hold itself straight. Sure, like, the car was easy enough to spin anyway. Like, you could overcorrect it, you could spin it very easily. But, like, it just had this force that would just keep it straight. and so it meant that certainly like the tires would not wear quite as bad. I still ran -5 all the way through practice and race, but like crazily, the Japanese guys weren't doing that. They were running like -1, -2. Even at home, they were running like -1, and like so. Simon noticed, and like I noticed with Kawakana, his rears on one stint that he did on softs, like they were like 50% down, and the fronts were barely touched, of course. And like no one knows how he was keeping it straight. And then like they get to the event and they're like 30-40% down after several laps. And we're going, hold on, we've figured something out here that they haven't figured out, that it's actually like really important to get this front brake balance on, so you save the rears. We could be in with a chance. And then, well, very like just a few seconds after that, we did Quali, and well, that ended up.
So you went into the race, and like, so Twitchy and Simon were at the back of the grid, and you're up in third. Did you have high hopes? Were you?
Oh, absolutely. The moment I qualified third and the session ended, I was like, "Oh, I'm in here. I've got a really good shot."
Yeah,
and with a shot, yeah.
And then,
what did that pressure feel like?
Well, it was
dealt with it alright.
First time ever actually having something to prove at a live event, because I had nothing to prove in 2019 and 2020 because I had nothing, and then 2021 I was at least at home, and I also didn't have the pace. I only made it through that semi-final by the sheer chance and luck of just everyone else throwing themselves off the track in a battle. And then Andrew just like going wide, and I'd take 2 milliseconds on him. So yeah,
it would have been scary to have Yamanaka behind you.
It was scary. Yamanaka was especially scary because he chucked it. Oh, he scared me into giving him the space at T2.
I saw that. I did see that happen,
and I was very nervous because, of course, like that was the cold tires, dirty air moment where both of us are equal, and it's also unknown territory. Like there could be a spin here, there could be a bad bounce, there could be like extra cold tires that I hadn't calculated for, and I just go flying off. That was the one that really scared me, but thankfully made it through that one. And then Akagi buggered off, and then eventually I gradually dropped out of Kawakami's slipstream. So I just gradually got more and more grip, and so whenever Yamanaka would get close, I still had like most of my grip, and he would just bounce off. And so after lap 1, I was kind of okay. I was nervous actually about the overtake, because I was thinking, hold on, I've used a lot here. I've used like sort of 50% in the first like 3 or 4 laps. Just making sure that he stays behind me, because he used a fair bit as well. But then I realised, hold on, he's just sitting back here now, and I didn't know about the colour thing on the roll hoop, and so I didn't realise that you could just check how much he has.
Okay.
How do you check?
Oh, yes.
I know you can tell if they've run out.
The colour of the roll hoop is green if it's above 20%, red if it's below 20%, flashing if it's in use, and then it's a different colour if it's unlit if it's dead.
It just goes out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I never knew about that, but other people knew that I had no chance of losing unless I crashed. And so like I always thought that he probably just had more, and he was just saving it because he figured that he would be able to take me at the end.
Yeah.
Because he always had more pace. It was just a question of whether if he had saved fully, then he would have just been able to blast past me lap 18, 19, maybe even 20, but probably not. And then just get me on the straight. But no, he never did it. And eventually, I just didn't run out until the last lap because I kept some there just to make sure.
Yeah, and I think he made it harder for himself because he got into a battle with Suzuki or CRV.
Yeah.
And
I saw that happening.
I saw that happening, and I was like, I feel like these guys are they're not doing either of themselves any favors with it.
There was one thing. They can make it into the repechage in P3 rather than P6 by finishing 4th, because they're not gonna get past me because I've got clean air now. Because after lap 6, I'd made a mistake and put myself more than 2 seconds behind Kawakami. They can't get past me now; it's not possible. So they just have to make sure that they're the one to be P3. So I
On
can
the
see
grid,
why,
yeah.
when they're bouncing off my dirty air, they would start battling each other because they're getting pushed into each other by me.
Yeah.
I can see why CRV would have tried that, because otherwise CRV just what's he going to do? He's just going to take fifth.
Well, I honestly thought that it would be in their best interest to work together to try catch you.
Well, they can't work together. It's not possible.
No, of
It's
course.
dirty air, so there's no working together
that
to
sort
be
of-
done. They
yeah.
might as well just try to take fourth place.
Mm.
And so,
Yeah,
like
they
CRV
kind of
had
know
nothing
of,
to gain by
yeah.
sitting behind Yamanaka, because then what's he going to do? Oh, Yamanaka's made it past McEwen. Now I have to, but like, if Yamanaka struggled, then I'm going to struggle. It's probably just a matter of luck. Like a matter of me making an error rather
Applying
than
the pressure,
CRV
yeah.
actually being able to just like follow him through, because he's not going to follow him through.
No.
You can't just work together to get past me. It's just not going to work. And so
The formula,
just
as we know, is
battling was always
especially
going to be
bad
better.
with dirty air too.
When I saw them
it was a
fighting, for
disaster.
sure, I was like, wow, this is just the respite that Matthew needs.
Oh yeah,
To get away,
I
get
enjoyed
some
watching
breathing
them swap
space.
positions. Yamanaka got a penalty as well. There was a whole bunch of
he
things.
did.
And CRV finally just disappeared, but Yamanaka didn't threaten me from then on. Well, he
was
bounced off
great.
the dirty air, but just not as
He kept,
hard.
yeah, he kept creeping close, but couldn't get within range.
Just fall off again.
No, it was great. It was great to watch, and I was just like, I was watching, and every lap that progressed, I was like, this is really going to happen. Matthew's going to beat Yamanaka and go through to the final and qualify for Monaco. And there was an incident at the start, and Simon and Twitchy ended up way off the back, right? Or
They were always
Simon did.
they weren't actually that far off for most of the race. It's just the fact that they were mediums and then they pulled it back on softs. Because the top 5 was softs and then they just chose mediums. The issues occurred later when Simon just started to realise this is funny, actually. Like, I realised what was going on as well when I had to wait for the race to finish. But Simon admitted to not watching his own race and like accidentally crashing a couple times because he was looking up at the big screen hoping that I was going to make it in the top 3.
That's so cool.
Oh, that's so wholesome.
That's awesome.
So wholesome.
It sounds badass and wholesome, but you know that he was thinking more about his own trip to Monaco because he knows now that he doesn't have to battle me for that New Zealand spot.
Yeah,
No,
true.
that's true.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Gives him an opportunity.
Ulterior
Yeah.
motive. It seems wholesome, but really,
I don't know. It's too.
It was pretty wholesome anyway, because like he was watching me
yes.
in the middle of his own race, but like
Still
it's also
supporting
kind
you.
of funny because you know that he was hoping that he was gonna have to make it himself.
it's like look, watching the screen trying to. Oh, there's my stop there.
Well, yeah, like he
Yeah.
did crash a couple times because he was not paying attention, and yeah, ended up finishing the
hilarious.
race like 50 seconds down, 45, 46, I think. And then, like we all had to wait for it, and I'm thinking, oh, yep, I know what he was doing because like even Twitchy and Psycho were way above.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing
Okay.
that for the grand final, you didn't put a whole lot of focus on it. You weren't too worried about the result going in. You just did you have your strategy lined up well in advance?
No.
Sorry, just so to clarify, was your pre-quali for Monaco based off your semi-final result?
It's based off being one of the 12 people who made it to the grand final, so that's all 3 semi-finalists plus the 3 who make it from repecharge. So, like, Yamanaka still went, even though he missed out on semi-final.
So, if you made it to the grand final there, you qualified
That's
for
the
Monaco.
12.
Okay, right, yeah. Cool.
So, yeah, I didn't do a single lap of practice for that grand final. I didn't do any strategy testing.
Again, sorry?
It was
So it was
X2019
30 laps,
trial mounts.
X2019, 2-3, I think, on the...
I don't think it was very
Yeah.
much, but it was enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, 2-2 or 2-3. So it was fuel and tyres, of course. 3-stop ended up being optimal. I just followed Yamanaka because he pitted, and then I looked over at his screen, and I was like, oh, he's popping some seriously good times here, and like I could look down as well at my timing thing because I was 11th and he had pitted to go 12th. And I was watching the gap come down, and yeah, he was just coming down so fast. I was like, might as well just like follow him in and I'll do a 4-stop. It wasn't that good, but whatever.
Yeah,
3-stop was definitely
You
better.
got to try these things, though. You got to try.
I had no idea, so I figured I'd just follow what he did, and then I started to wear out the softs faster than everyone else would because I just didn't have the practice.
Yeah.
So I had to pit off a lap 7 stint rather than a lap 8 stint.
I think in the grand scheme of things, you did quite well, all things considered, in that grand final.
Yeah,
like, you weren't way off the
final
pace.
corner. Yeah, like on the final lap I crashed because I was getting bumped into, and like I couldn't hear anything because everyone was shouting at Killian, who was sort of like he was on the next rig to me, so everyone was bunched up around him.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I crashed because I spun at the tires and didn't have any idea at the final corner.
Yeah.
And so I
that's
finished like 10
frustrating.
seconds down, but I would have finished 2 seconds down. And sure, the last like P11 and 10 and 11 did crash, but it would have looked a lot better there if I'd just barely finished off the back of the pack.
Yeah, 100%. Especially with an extra start.
Yeah,
And
It's a bit you don't see. It's the bit you don't see. Like
Well, we
you
saw-
couldn't hear
I
the
saw
tires spin
Matthew.
up.
I saw Matthew cross the line on the broadcast as well, because obviously the camera was on Killian, who was by his rig, and you could see Matthew and his rig crossing the line. And I was like, "Oh, hey, that's Matthew."
yeah. Like so, I looked at Killian, of course, a lot. Killian underfueled by accident because of the bug where. Okay, did you guys see Rallycross's report?
No.
No.
So Rallycross reported that if you pit, and then you cross the line in the pits, the fuel diamond that goes you how
Counter
much you
changes.
refuel.
Yeah.
It
I have
crosses the
noticed
line
that.
and then it counts down, and then it assumes you're like going to go onto the next lap rather than just the lap that you've already gone onto.
Wow.
So then it gave him X amount of fuel. Told
He needed
him
5% more, for example.
he needed an extra lap, and so he had to map extra.
Yeah.
I watched him. I saw Yamanaka had figured it out. I figured it out because I realized, hold on, I'm refueling here. I got to check this. He didn't figure it out, so he was like mapping hard for the rest of that race. And I was watching him go hard, go up to like 3, 4, and 5.
He mapped so high that Fraga was catching him, and then Killian ended up having more fuel than Fraga.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he
Yeah,
would have just taken it away. He probably would have just refueled as much as possible, then made it so that when Fraga gets close, he would just use that extra fuel rather than.
I don't know if he did.
doing a flat rate.
I felt like Fraga didn't realize he didn't have enough fuel, and he was just going full push. Like,
Oh, did he run out or something?
I don't know.
Fraga
He
didn't
lap.
run out.
He charged for like 5 laps and caught right up. He was like 1 second away from Killian, and I think he even got close enough just about for a move. Maybe he did. I can't remember. And then his pace suddenly fell off, and we saw the fuel numbers, and Killian had way more.
Fraga didn't run out, but he did get very close. I think it just ticked over to 0%, like as he was coming through that final complex. But when did Fraga get the penalty? Because I remember he got a half a second penalty, which if he hadn't gotten that, he would have been ahead.
I think that
When
was
he
in
finished,
the
like-
manufacturer's race, wasn't it?
I don't know. It was in the Red Bull because he was lamenting. He finished, I think it was like 0.3 behind or something, and he was sitting there. Oh, if I didn't get that half second, I would have had it.
I think he was further behind Killian than 0.3. I think he was he was like 5 seconds back.
Something like that. But
Pretty sure he ended
I'm
up
pretty
at like
sure
6, 7, 8.
Yeah. But yeah, I know there was a penalty for Fraga that he got at some point that hindered a race somewhere along the line, and of course, without if it was a half second penalty in that race, without that he would have potentially got past Killian, and it would have been a different race because he got so close. But either way, there was a big fuel up and down towards the end. I didn't realise that Killian had short fueled. I thought he was fuel saving because I could see the delta coming down at points where it was clear that he was mapping, like between the second to last corner and the third to last corner. So the downhill hairpin all the way to the chicane, Fraga was gaining heaps of time because Killian was mapping.
Yeah.
And
that was one of the times where I could see him because he was roughly that gap ahead where I would see him drive that when I was on the back straight. So I would look over and see what he was doing, and then look up to see what the tyre strategy was. Because I was looking, like I had that board right above me saying what all the tyres were and stuff. And like what the deltas were. There was so the main broadcast has intervals to the next driver, but then the one that no one ever sees besides at the event itself, that one has like, it's a little bit more low tech actually, but it's got like raw delta to liter, and so
Yeah,
it's
right, okay.
quite useful. But it's
Wow.
also got all the tires and stuff. And so it was quite useful, and I looked at that to see what tires everyone was on before I would go for a pass and stuff. And they even used it in one of the highlight reels. They used me looking up at that screen.
Huh. I don't think
That's
I
cool.
saw that.
Oh yeah,
No.
yeah. No, I'll pull it up somewhere. It's pretty cool. It's kind of
very
cringy though as well, because it's not a flattering shot of me like my mouth's hanging open and stuff because I'm trying to get my head up as
You're
high as
using your
possible.
brain, not your mouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't
and-
using my brain either because I still came last.
Well, that's all right though. You weren't too worried.
Yeah,
about
no, it wasn't the
result.
goal.
You said on Sunday morning there was a meeting with Kaz. Are you able to tell us a
That's
bit about
right.
that?
That was for hold on.
Saturday.
Hold on.
I think it was the
I'm
morning or
confused
something.
now.
Yeah, you said
You
there was
said
an
you had
online
you had a
meeting with Kaz.
virtual meeting with Kaz. Yeah.
So, never mind. So that was Friday, and I just made a mistake before. It was the Sunday was just like driver briefing, and the fact that we had to get moving for nations. 'Cause,
Yeah.
we just got bussed over at like 9:30, 10, something like that. Yeah, so we like Kaz, of course, wanted to talk to us personally. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
He
he got COVID, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
very very unfortunate.
Very unfortunate.
But yeah, like he was dedicated to seeing us, and so he got on a video call and met all of us and talked about the things in the game that he knew were inadequate and stuff, and that he wanted to cover with us, and then also
What were
specifically, there's a lot of things that I can't talk about. Like they closed the
Okay, that's
doors
alright,
to
that's
this
fine.
meeting because
That's fine.
no.
Under that NDA.
Yeah. Shush,
Like,
Smoke. You're not
that's
allowed to ask too many
Not
questions.
officially. Like theoretically, I could talk about this and they wouldn't be able
No,
to sue me or
it's
anything.
okay.
But
It's fine.
like,
Like,
they
it's
probably
not-
wouldn't invite me to events.
You don't want to bite the hand that
guys
feeds
are
you.
on.
yeah.
But yeah, so like we got to talk to the guy who programs the lobbies with like lobby features, and he assured us that a whole bunch of lobby features are coming.
Okay.
Things like qualifiers and lobbies. He did talk about the chat, which came, I believe, later that afternoon.
Yeah.
Or
think
maybe
it
it was
came
just a
in-
few hours earlier.
I think
that
it
was
came in update 1.19, didn't it?
yeah. Was that
1.19
Thursday or
along with
Friday? Because if that was Thursday, then it would have
Thursday.
come like sort of like
The day
5 hours
before.
previously, and if it
Yeah.
was
So
Friday, then it would have come about a few hours
Yeah.
later. But
The
yeah, so
updates
he told us
historically
that
have
was
been
coming.
Thursdays, yeah.
He told us about like the lag. He's working on the lag, and he also told us that the like the issues that you get, like the NAT issues, the lag issues, the other stuff. That's when you're working with like ISP internet and stuff. It's all the issues are like one by one. You have to fix them one by one. They're not related to each other. They're just like one-off things that you have to fix
Right.
problem by problem. You gotta isolate this issue, make a script to fix it, and then move on to the next one. And there's just hundreds upon hundreds of them.
Oh, God.
And so
hard
like
job.
this ISP communicates with this ISP and doesn't get all the data through, so you got to deal with that. Just that over and over and over again, all these little issues. So he assured us that it would happen, but it's just going to happen very, very, very slowly. All these little lag issues, the stutter, the rubber banding. Well, he's not not render stutter, just like the car's doing weird things and
Left
stuff.
and right, yeah.
We had a bit of that last night.
Well, honestly, it's
The
awesome to
race
hear
lobby.
that. It's awesome to hear that they're even though they're
Yeah.
not publicly addressing it, they know it's an issue and they're
That's why
making
I
it
perked
clear.
up.
to us
They,
about
they
it.
are
Yeah.
That's
working
why I
on
lit
it,
up.
you know?
That's why I lit up over it. I'd kill to
It
be
is-
in those meetings, eh?
Kaz
Yeah, that
answered
is-
some
that
of
is
the
one of the
questions
things.
himself as well.
Yeah, that is one of the things that a lot of the casual fans don't seem to relate. You see it all the time. You see the angry Facebook posts.
Oh,
Give us
God.
this feature. Why can't we sell our cars? Why is the lag so bad and all that sort of thing? And it's like the way they go on about it, you would think they just don't care. But the truth is, they are very actively doing everything behind the scenes. But it's just like they've never been. I say it in a nice way. They've never been very communicative with the base. You know, they sort of hide in the background, do everything, and then it's released rather than, you know, like some game companies, you know, they'll give you like a big roadmap and they'll say, right, here's the game now, and here's the game where we'd like it to be, you know, bang 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 bang. As PD, yeah. So it's just the way they are, and you know, people like us who have obviously been with the franchise for as long as we have know that PD is like this, but to the hundreds of thousands, hey, absolutely, but like I'm saying, to the hundreds of thousands of casual people who don't quite see it that way, you know, they think that you just don't care, and you know, I'll just go over to Forza.
You sold your game, took my money, and now you don't care anymore.
Yeah,
it looks like that, but really, it's not.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's good news.
The opposite is true.
Because, I mean, what's the alternative? The game was never released until everything's meticulously perfect. We'd probably
have to wait
another few years.
But late 2022 could have been a viable option. And
basically what
the thing is, it's awkward.
Gran Turismo 5. Yeah.
They could viably have done that, and then you probably wouldn't have to have that wait ever again, just because the game's been reprogrammed and now it's in a future-proofed language.
Yeah.
Because Swift is a recent language. Only came out last like 10-15 years, possibly less. So like it's a modern thing. They can bring in staff now that actually know what they're doing, without having to train them up on the on their proprietary language that they had previously. And so this will never happen again with a bit of luck. And hopefully GT8 will actually land relatively quickly in the next 3 to 4 years.
Oh, right.
Okay. That's
interesting.
That's not something that I have any knowledge on whatsoever. That's literally just me.
Gran Turismo 8 leaked for 2024 release. You heard it here first, guys. Oh my goodness.
That's a
new title.
Imagine the clicks we'd get.
Oh my god.
GT8 confirmed? Question mark?
Matthew just becomes, you remember that guy who used to always like try to convince us that he had Grand Theft Auto 6 and he just would not shut up about it. Like, oh, bro. We just do that.
Guy, I just said his name and I'm just already disgusted. I just wish that I hadn't given him more searches on YouTube now by saying that. Someone's going to search him up and increase his impressions.
Oh my god.
Okay, so what was that? Basically, all that meeting was then, or
it was mostly that. A whole bunch of guys asked questions about the things that they thought were unacceptable. Like Baptiste talked about the lag, and they assured us that the lag will be improved, as they continue to work on it. Other people talked about the frame rate, and they said. Well, actually, they didn't give like a really good answer on this. They said, like, sure, that they've reached the limit of the console because it's easy to reach the limit of a console. Like, obviously,
are they at the limit of the PlayStation 4? They're at the
limit
limit of the PlayStation 4, aren't they?
Well, they're at the limit of the PS5 as well, just like by cranking it to 4K. So sure enough, you're getting stutters because they just cranked it. Like PS4 actually runs better than PS5. Because it's just running at a nice calm 1080p.
Yeah.
I drove on a PS4 recently, and it's just such a different experience, man.
On GT7?
On GT7, yeah.
Because the trees are in different locations.
Wow. Yeah, it's totally different.
The loading up the track and stuff, since it's optimized for PS5 and stuff, like there's a whole bunch of things that load when you wouldn't want them to load, or they shouldn't need to load. It's not that big of a deal on PS5, but on PS4, you wait for it to load just so you can see like leaderboards and stuff for individual events, which is a silly lack of optimization. But most people are on PS5 anyway, and it's not too big of a deal.
I'd actually be interested to see what the breakdown is of players on PS4 versus PS5, because
I've heard it's 75 to 25.
PS4 to PS5?
Okay.
Yeah, or PS5 to PS4.
Oh, really?
Okay. Majority of PS5, yeah.
Yeah.
Was there anything else?
Yeah.
Anything else mentioned then?
So,
anyone else bring anything up?
The big one
allowed to talk about?
What can you tell us that's not going to get you in trouble or like smoke cancelled or anything?
They'll be very happy for me to talk about this one because, well, it's just a good thing. But they will patch GT Sport eventually to support offline saves once the servers go down. So you will still be able to play it and save your game and stuff, and you're not going to lose your progress or be unable to save your progress because of that.
This is 7 or Sport? You said Sport.
Sport. They also said they will do it eventually for 7 as well. Like yonks away when they finally killed 7.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
God,
so are they gonna
10 years away?
With Sport? Is their plan are they gonna give it like a last hurrah big dump of content? Or is it just going to be...
No way.
Okay.
No. They've already had their last hurrah with Road to GT7 and what other content. They've already got content on GT7 that they haven't brought to Sport, so they're clearly not going to do any more content on Sport. But yeah, they'll just have this one little update.
It's completely different coding to shut down that department.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, as far as Road to GT7 was a thing, but they might do one final I don't know, farewell to GT Sport or some other sort of little,
They'd probably do. They won't want to draw any attention to it.
Yeah.
Because it never gets good press when they shut down servers and ruin a game that people paid money for. Especially when that's the primary purpose of the game. Shutting down multiplayer servers for Call of Duty from 15 years ago wouldn't be that big of a deal because the main game is the story. Even games back then, and even COD back then was story mode was the big thing. But GT Sport was literally esports.
Yeah,
so shutting that down, they're not going to want to draw attention to that, I'd say, and so they'll just shut it down. They'll just say it's going to shut down in a month or 2 months or something. Prepare yourselves. Update the game so that you can save your stuff.
GT Sport sold so well though that copies are a dime a dozen anyway. I think you can go into any good JB Hi-Fi or whatever, and they're usually
always
$20.
I always see them.
Yeah,
always see them in the second-hand department. I think it's a PS Essential now.
Why would you have to do that?
I'm just saying, as far as they're not, it's not like you're seeing them on the shelves for full retail or anything. Most of them are pretty much down nowadays anyway. So
people got what they wanted from the first 4 years.
$2 on this game, yeah. So
yeah,
just one of those things. It's all things come to an end. I mean, we had the same thing with Gran Turismo 6 when that got shut down, and that was obviously a bigger thing because 6 was dead. You literally had to buy a PS4 to playing basically. So that would have been that would have been more of a story than shutting down Sport. So
plus Sport doesn't count as a real franchise game because it doesn't have a number.
Originally Kaz said that it was a franchise number, and then basically just it was effectively a full franchise release, and then kind of just backtracked and called 7 rather than 8.
And it's JK.
Wow. So as far as Austria, the production and things, what can you tell us about like behind the scenes of what goes on? You talked before about how you guys watch the broadcast through the little headsets that you got given. How many people did you see working on the broadcast, like running around organising stuff and all that sort of thing? Like, what goes on for you guys there?
Most of the guys running serious stuff were hidden away inside the there's a coveted off area where all the serious stuff goes down.
Is that where like the stewards and stuff do their work and in there and stuff like that?
Pretty sure the stewards are actually out in the open, but then any kind of event direction and all the video editing and stuff gets done inside that little area, which is all very, very
confidential or classified?
Very quiet, yeah.
Do you ever get to see it? If you asked, would you be allowed to poke your nose in and have a look?
Oh no, you wouldn't even get close there. We just didn't really head over.
I'd love
it was
to
just
know
carefully
what's
designed
on
so
the
that we
screens.
weren't.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like you watch the broadcasts and stuff, and they have their replays ready to go. Like you remember the replay function on Sport that we could do using the keyboard, where you timestamp the last 10 seconds, and then you go back and watch it later. But like
the
little,
advanced
like,
features they
transition.
have.
Yeah.
they have advanced features. They have different camera angles and things like that they can select. I want to know
They
how they
keep it all
operate
hidden
it.
away.
You know?
Yeah.
I want to see it all. That's so
I'd
cool.
love to see how they do it. Yeah. But no, that's all so quiet. I'm pretty sure when they took off the TGT that got replaced on Rig 9.
Connor's rig.
Yeah. They like, I'm pretty sure they took it off into there, and like that's where Toyo stayed as well in that area. So that's where all the race direction clearly occurs. So yeah, Toyo came out to the rig when the rig died its painful death for Manu. And then he was like, when he was walking, he was moving quickly, and he
Walk
was
with purpose.
no more like walk with anger and with with someone to shout at. And I'm sure that the words that were spoken eventually when they found whoever was responsible, I'm sure those words are not very polite.
No,
I would not want to be.
The final
would
reason
not wanna
was.
be the guy.
Monday.
Do you guys know what the final reason was?
What the wheel
Oh.
was it?
So it wasn't the wheel, because like they replaced the wheel and it was still broken. So it clearly wasn't the wheel. Turns out that they wedged the USB cable in funny when they were assembling all the things, and ended up like shredding it, and it caused the cable to fail.
Wow.
And so the wheel just started going berserk. Connor said that the wheel felt like unnaturally strong, like stronger than 1010, stronger than you'd ever like feel out from it naturally. Like it was like 2020 or like 3030 basically.
Jeez, man.
He said like it was kind of like scary how powerful the machine actually was, which is really interesting to hear. And like
would have burned itself out quickly if it ran too long.
I would love to know
that,
how much testing they've done on the machine to see if it actually is still functional after having so much power course through it. Because like that thing had no restrictions on it anymore by the sounds of it. And it went crazy. Like they replaced, actually, it turns out they replaced the whole PS5. And I guess they replaced the cable. Basically, they replaced it on the Sunday morning, because on Saturday they said, it's a hardware issue. Oh, sorry. Sunday morning they said it's a hardware issue at briefing. And then we got inside and it was getting replaced, and we're like, hold on, if the wheel got replaced last night, then what's the hardware issue? Yeah, they replaced the whole PS5, the cable, the everything.
Wow.
Jeez. Which
I was always
USB
saying-
cable? It was the USB cable for the wheel, right?
Yeah,
Wheel
console
to
to wheel.
console. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Mental.
How do you mess that up?
I guess
Threw
the
in,
design
Yeah,
of the
that's
rigs.
pretty good.
They're rough, maybe?
The rigs
Yeah.
are like designed with a little area, like a cage in them to like shut the wheel into. Having those like screwing those closed could potentially be where you shred the cable. Someone said the USB port. I think Psycha told me that one of the guys had told him that they thought the USB port on the wheel on the console might be dead or dying, and it seemed odd, but like it makes more sense. Like they've just tried everything, but apparently the final cause is the fact that the thing was damaged cable.
Yeah, right.
It's,
It's a terrible thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's not
and
often
totally
you hear
ruined
It ruined
Porsche's
Porsche
race.
because Porsche was going to get points as well.
Yeah, they were on
Yeah,
real good.
It's not
Yeah,
often
and-
you hear of a mechanical DNF in an esports thing.
No,
Like,
yeah, exactly.
normally-
That's exactly what it
normally the
was.
Yeah. Normally, the whole thing about like esports is that it's racing,
Can't have
but
that.
you don't have to worry about repair bills or like vehicle maintenance. But I mean, obviously, wheel maintenance is
Yeah.
and that's
thing.
not even wheel maintenance. That's just basic making sure everything's set up properly. Which, like you say, unkind words would have been exchanged, and rightly
I
so.
would not have been I would not have liked to have been the
Honestly,
bloke who set that up.
I feel bad for Connor because, like, sure that would have taken the pressure off you when it happened. Like, oh well, now this is out of my control. I don't have to worry about doing well. But that was
He
his
was more
big
pissed.
opportunity. He what?
He was more just pissed than anything, because he didn't get his chance to prove to people that he's actually good now on wheel, because he was the same as me in 2019, where he just didn't have pace on wheel.
Like people
And, yeah.
slept on Connor big time as a World Tour driver because he never performed in the Genesis, but
And was
this
also a controller back then.
Yeah,
so
and
he just wasn't even that good on wheel. And
he's massively stepped up in GT7. He's one of the biggest players that have really impressed me.
I believe he has the fastest time for the Nations Cup time trial for
Not anymore.
Oceania driver. Oh, doesn't he?
Twitchy and Emily both went ahead, but yes, he did have the fastest time for a while, and it's still only 2/10 off Twitchy and Emily now.
Yeah, he's looking wildly fast.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he'll be a big threat. But yeah, I feel really bad for him because that was his opportunity. Because Angel had put the car in a great position for him. And he had the opportunity to put in a stint, like do his job, and then hand it over to the next driver. And they probably would have got a good
pace as well. He wasn't even that far off them, and so he could have had himself in a position to say, I was effectively an equal part of this team that did go top 6.
Yeah.
So he's missed out on that.
That's such a shame. I'm sure he'll get another opportunity though.
He didn't even get a chance to Sophy.
Absolutely. Like I said about Twitchy, he's qualified for one, so he's almost certain to qualify for another one.
Well, Connor could potentially qualify for Monaco for Nations as well because
it can do manufacturers if he just changes manufacturer.
He can, yeah. But was it Takuan who did Porsche and he wasn't 18?
Yeah.
And he's now 18. Yes. So
he will be 18 in time. Yes.
Yeah, so that kind of throws away that opportunity. Yeah, so Connor won't get to do that.
Yeah.
But, is that how Connor went to
Yep,
Austria?
Second choice for Porsche.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So and that was the same for Jay as well for BMW.
Bimmer.
Mm-hmm.
Bimmer, yeah. So a couple of those going around. But yeah, so that was the big wheel issue on Saturday, and there was no other major issues over the course of the weekend that we saw, I don't think.
Let me think. So there was Patrick Blajan got left behind for Nations. Yeah,
Jeez,
he just didn't turn up to the bus, so he just didn't get taken over. I don't know if he missed his practice or if he got taken over or if he had to find his own way through a taxi or something. But yeah, he was late. He was very late. So we eventually just had to leave without him. The whole thing was late. Like the entire day ended up being late. Our semi-finals ran late, and then the Manu Sophy guys missed out and just didn't get a chance to race Sophy.
Jeez.
So Connor got all of one lap, half a lap before the wheel died.
Jeez, so he
never drove again.
The whole trip.
No.
Damn.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, as a world finalist yourself now for 2022, what does that make you? 3 times? 3 times world finalist?
Yeah, 3 times.
3-time world finalist from little old New Zealand. What words do you have? Any words for aspiring new GT drivers who have come to GT7 with the new release of the game, who want to kind of follow in your footsteps, or other drivers who want to go to these events like you have? Words of inspiration?
The big one for me is just have some fun and give it a shot.
Yeah.
Get into sport mode. Just have some fun. Chuck it in some races. Find a race that you like. What happened for me was I was actually inspired by the 2018 Salzburg World Tour by pure chance. And then I found a combo that was in sport mode that was the same as one from the event. It was Red Bull Ring X2014s. And I just decided, hey, I'm going to follow the lines that these guys take because I've got this big learning tool, and suddenly I had this massive advantage that no one else has ever thought of. And so I'm following their lines and stuff, and learning off them. And I was grinding that combo, and got against some faster guys because my rating went up quickly in that one. But yeah, the big thing for me was just the fact that I found a combo that I enjoyed and that I was good at.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing for me is find something that you enjoy driving or whatever else it is, if it's some other esport. And yeah, if you enjoy it, just keep going. See if you can find a way to get consistently good at it, consistently enjoy it as well, once again, you're never going to do well at it if you hate it and don't want to actually do any more of it. And so that's part of the reason I'm actually not doing manufacturers, is because I just don't like the Group 3 and 4 cars this game. Not yet, and I'm just not very accurate with them.
Coming from the guy who qualified third for his region in a Group 3 car, or what?
That was interesting for sure.
I guess one makes are always different though, isn't it? Because everyone's on the same thing. Whereas something like case in point, Trial Mountain, Dodge Viper,
no good.
Is a bit meh.
Pretty shocking. So, no, I felt a little bit in my early days of sport, when I first started on Gran Turismo Sport, I felt a little bit. Well, I didn't feel a little bit, but looking back on it, I felt a little bit gatekept from the FIA races. Not because there was anything saying, "Oh, you have to be this good to do it" or anything like that. But I looked at them and I was like, nah, those are just for the good drivers. I'm just going to go do dailies.
Yeah, I was the exact same
That's going to be full of sweaty tryhards who are going to wipe the floor with me. I'm going to get embarrassed, and I'm just going to not have a good time. So I didn't touch it for like a month, the first month of playing Gran Turismo Sport, when I did come back, and I did dailies for a while. And then I was like, you know what? I've gotten pretty good. I'm going to give this a crack. And so I jumped in, and I had the best time of my life racing that manufacturers series the first time around. I did like the last 3 rounds of the season in question in the Toyota 86, and like it was just so much fun. And I was like, why wasn't I doing this earlier? And like you say, just to throw it out there to people who are kind of on the brink of that, just jump straight into GT World Series and give it a shot and see if you like it, because it's open for everyone. You know, the DR and SR rating matches you up with people of your skill level. Yeah. So if you're at the bottom, you'll be racing other people at the bottom. So you're not going to get left behind by people like Matthew over here, who's racing people that match his pace.
Bro's going to Monaco because of it.
That was one thing that you guys, you might not believe it, but in 2018 when I got the game, a month later I quit because I got up to B class and I was like, oh, well, I'm getting good now. And suddenly, the moment I started getting decent at the game just punished me by matching me against even better people. And I was like, well, this sucks actually. You know, there's no reward for improving. And so when I came back a couple months later after seeing the Salzburg event, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to keep improving, and then when it finally sort of like catches up, I'm going to, I'll probably just stop playing again once or twice and just kind of like let it be an on and off game. But then just kind of gradually got better and better, and then when the region split happened, suddenly the game didn't have anyone, and so it couldn't keep up and it couldn't punish me anymore. And I was like, well,
good enough at that point.
I win. You know, you can't match me against better people if there aren't any better people.
Exactly. Straight facts. Absolutely spitting facts.
Get roasted, all of us. Yeah.
That's all right. We're all included.
All of us are the same in that we can go to a random daily at almost any hour of the day, and all of us will win it, provided we're alone out of us, the group of us 4.
We know who the best are at this point. We've formed a small community.
There's sort of that unspoken hierarchy of that McEwen is better than myself or Smoke, and myself and Smoke are better. Yeah, it's that sort of.
Oh, you were gonna say Atom, weren't you?
Wait a minute.
It's just not that good, bro. No, but I really like the big thing I like about the Gran Turismo, sort of competitive side for those of our viewers who don't know much about it, is like we're all on first name basis, the most of us at the top end of the game, because we race each other week in, week out. We've actually gotten to know each other quite well. Yeah. Across the board, save a few, but that's the general rule, which is awesome.
It's funny because I know everyone's name. No one knows my name. I know everyone's name, but I'm pretty much always. I'm always going to refer to people by like their online ID. Like I know you're Nath, but I still call you Nismo because you're Nismo online. Yeah. And even if I met you in real life, I'd probably still call you Nismo.
Yeah.
Well, Atom's literally like stayed with like my family, and he's always been Atom. It was never. Well, it's Atom. Never really
Your
Tom.
Dad
It was
called
just
me Atom. It was so good.
I struggle with him too as well.
Yeah.
Actually,
no,
I wanted to.
I prefer it. I prefer to be called Atom.
Oh,
like
I'm happy with Smoke
Yeah.
or Smock
Yeah.
or Smokescreen, whatever.
It's great.
Mr. Screen.
These are the
Mr.
names.
Screen?
These are the names we chose for ourselves. Why would we not want to be
Exactly.
called them?
Exactly.
Well, I
And then you
thought
just
of
get
mine,
me
thought of mine
and
in the
I'm just my
shower,
last
mate.
name.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your
McEwen
case, it's a little bit different.
Can't really sort of hide your own identity, eh? So it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one for you. What would your gamer tag be if you
Oh,
weren't
I have
Matthew McEwen?
absolutely no idea. The
have-
whole reason I called myself Matthew McEwen on my main account was because I just wanted to start playing on my PS Vita. It was my first online console besides PSP. I just wanted to start playing, just wanted to get my account set up, and I couldn't think of anything interesting. So I just called myself Matthew McEwen and just carried on to the next step.
Wow.
Did you have
Alright,
a gamer
that's
tag
right.
from a previous game, or
No,
nah?
like
No,
not really.
no
Like
ideas.
I'd set up my email recently at that time,
What
or
about
your-
maybe I was
what
about
about
to,
your
and that was just
TikTok
Matt
account?
McEwen 01.
Doesn't your TikTok account have a different name?
That was a name.
With a
Well,
funky username?
so okay. You're not going to expect this one. You're not going to
Oh,
expect
here
this
we
one.
go. Here we go.
Yeah, you have TikTok, Matthew. I didn't think I know.
Game
I
of
didn't think I knew
War.
that.
Game of War.
Ah,
You
okay.
guys remember that multiplayer game? That massive multiplayer game that everyone kept like they were advertising it massively because it was raking them in billions.
Yeah.
I was originally just named Matthew 025 or something on that. And then eventually someone finally convinced me to do like an interesting name. And so I was like, well, I
Right.
mean, it's not that interesting. Let's just, pick up one of these random, like, generic, like, cool names that people do. And so I just called myself Firestorm and left the numbers there, 025. And then, yeah, settled with that. Like, I can't possibly call myself that in Gran Turismo because there's already a guy called Fire and a guy called Storm.
Wait, really?
Oh, well...
Well, not really, not prominently
PR1 Fire
anymore, but
and,
yeah.
I
Firestorm
know
is
about
though.
Fire. I know
like,
about Fire.
I can't call myself that
Storm was
because
a
it's
French
just
driver.
not unique anymore, even though they're not around anymore.
Oh, dude,
besides,
you should. Imagine
it's
that.
just generic.
AE_Firestorm. Oh!
Is he in
Of your
too deep
enemies.
now, though? Is he in too deep?
Like,
Yeah,
Well,
he's
that's
McEwen
the
at this
thing.
point.
Yeah.
You're
Like,
McEwen at
yeah,
this
that's
point,
the thing. People don't even call me by my first name anymore. So
Yeah.
Actually, I feel that sort of too towards you. I'll call you Matthew, like, in this setting, but then, like, if I'm sitting in a lobby after a race, I'll say thank you, McEwen, because that's your online ID. I guess it's so everyone else knows I'm talking to you, but...
Yeah, because
I think
if you
it's
say Matthew,
contextual.
there's no one in the lobby whose username is Matthew,
Yeah,
so everyone's
yeah.
like, "Who are you talking to, bro?"
I think maybe in
it's
more of
not
a...
entirely
Yeah.
true because most of Top Split, not only like most of Top Split knows my real name because of the events, but my previous username that I used before I switched to this account at the end of 2019 was Matthew McEwen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like people do know, and so I would encourage people to talk to me with my first name. I'm not scared of it. It's just the fact that I didn't want to call myself AE_Matthew McEwen because that's right on the 16 character limit. So if I
Yeah.
join a team like PX7 and have to use an underscore or a dash, I can't have that name. I would have to call myself McEwen or Matthew. Can't do Matthew because there's already like VQS Matthew, and like it's not a unique enough name. It's incredibly generic, and so it would need something else added on, like Matt Mick or Matthew Mick or something would be a thing. But
Matthew M. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Well,
just like
he's-
that's still way
You
too
could've just-
generic, and it
you
sounds
could've
like it's a
gone-
backup after getting failed by VQS Matthew.
You could have done your best
Matt.
Hayden Hunter impersonation and just called yourself AE_M.
Oh god,
That would have been great.
Could have. You could have.
Well,
yeah,
actually,
like, I
he's-
want it to be unique, and so like maybe now that both Fire and Storm are actually gone, I could make a place for myself with
reverse the
Fire Storm.
Yeah, it'd be hard
the
to
sort
shake
of
the McEwen
reservation
name
is
that
gone,
you've
yeah.
made, but
People
Firestorm would be it'd be
Gradually
cool.
get rid of it, and I would be interested
Yeah.
to see the shift of people gradually calling me Matthew. But like Fire is a people would often abbreviate me to Fire, which is going to cause problems if it happens because Christian Malky still exists. He's he's not in the GT scene anymore as far as I can tell, but
Is still out there.
He
Yeah.
owns the name.
People know who
actually,
Fire
I say
is.
that he doesn't own it. He doesn't own the name. he's
Not
just
not
called
morally
Fire,
and
but-
not legally,
Yeah, but it's like,
in,
No, I know what you mean.
in
I know what you
nomenclature he
mean.
does, and
It's
so I
like-
can't do it.
It's like that bloke that cropped up that was called Smoke Show.
I was just gonna say that.
And it's like, he's allowed to be called Smoke Show. For the record, he's changed it to Sub-Zero. But when he was Smoke Show, I saw it and I was like,
It's unfortunate, but he doesn't
I'm not
own
really a
it.
massive fan
You
of that,
don't own
eh?
it, yeah.
I always did think that was your alt, like on the low key. I saw it and I was like, oh, has he got an alt?
They ended up in the same lobby next to each other on the road to GT7, and I saw it and I was like, oh my god.
People were probably thinking, I've never seen Smokescreen and Smoke Show in the same lobby together.
Exactly.
Did that?
It was that
Having
thing.
said that, you do kind of have the same thing with obviously Metal Gear, Meta Gear. So
Yeah, true.
So
That
that's a
threw me
fanboyism, though, isn't
That
it?
threw me one.
I make sure
Well, they
Metal...
both just love the game, Metal
Yeah.
Gear Solid.
Yeah.
yeah,
They were
Well,
both just lovers of the game.
I always call Holland Metal Gear, and then Matt... Is
Discount
that his
Metal
name?
Gear.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dude, Discount Metal Gear was
Bruh.
honestly the greatest name. It was the greatest name.
I call him Meta 7.
Yeah, he is
Meta 7.
meta.
I just call him
He's
Meta,
meta.
yeah.
Now. He's meta now, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Metal Gear or Dan Holland has like he's changed his ID. His in-game ID is now Hollow One, which was his previous username back.
Predates the Metal Gear title anyway.
So
yeah.
I think and he's also changed his YouTube channel to Hollow One. So I think he's
back
going
to
with
Hollow One.
that alias now.
He's going with Hollow. Okay.
Yeah.
Did
Alright.
Meta like
We're out of
inch him
prompts.
out
We're
of it.
good, yeah.
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 No, well, he
I
may
think-
not have wanted to be confused with him, but I think the opportunity was there. He didn't have to spend any money to change it back. Like I can't see Dan Holland being asked to spend money to change his username. Like he just wouldn't care that much. You know, it's not a big deal to
He
him.
wouldn't care.
Dan already, like you say, he already had the Hollow One sort of
Yeah.
moniker to fall back on.
It was
whereas,
free to do
Exactly,
on Gran
yeah.
Turismo 7, so why not at that point? So
Yeah,
fair enough.
Yep. Fair play. All right.
Well, I think that's it. I think we've reached the end, have we?
I think we have. We're good. I've run out of prompts.
Yeah,
I've run out of
Atom,
prompts.
you led that beautifully today, mate. Well done.
Thank you. Thank
Well
you.
done, yeah. I
Did my
didn't
best
have
for
any
you.
prompts. I just branch off the conversation and pick from
Yeah.
there. Nismo.
Love- We went
seems
on
to be
a
the same.
tangent so many times. It's so
Oh,
good.
I like it. It felt good because we were like going and then we'd branch off and then we'd like come back.
Yeah.
Distract
I kept trying to get us
people,
back on
Luke-
track.
Luke
So
Luke,
Austria.
yeah.
Well, that was a perfect segue. So Austria.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we need to extend a massive thank you to Matthew for joining us today. Just offering that truly invaluable insight to how some of these live events work and some of the things that goes on behind the scenes. So Matthew, thank you very much, mate.
No worries.
Yeah, been happy to have you. But I think that's going to wrap up this episode of the Trackside Lounge today. So Atom, Nismo, once again, thank you very much, gentlemen. And please make sure to hit that like button if you did like it and hit subscribe if you'd like to see more podcasts and clips from us. Do leave a comment as well, because questions, comments, constructive criticism, we really, really appreciate that. But that's going to be the end of this podcast today, and that means that is it from us. So once again, we'd like to thank you very much for watching. See you later.
You got to do a little salute, Matthew.
He does, yeah.
I mean,
He's
He's
done
alright.
it. Here we go.
He's done it.
Said,
Beautiful.
Who said he wasn't?
Nice work, guys.